go. I can see my future and it's looking bright. Not used to the light, I was born at night. But I'm used to a fight, not a new sight. Left, right, hair, body, roll the dice. No regrets when I finally leave. I'll finally be the final, be a better me. My destiny is to invest in me. A quest to be the best, yeah, legend free. From a world that's been feeling so wounded. I got dreams and they feel so lucid. I got dreams that they think are stupid. It's alright, sit back cause I do this. I don't take this life for granted, my mind's expanding. It's time for a fight, commanding the war. I want more, yeah, I said I want more. Took a life full of hooks, time to even the score.
One life left, so I gotta make it count. Two bloody hands, work hard just to build it now. Three more doubts in my head, try to tear me down. But I won't let it show. Falling's carrying me along through the struggle now. 5 toes dangle off the edge, don't look down. 6 feet deep, what will I leave when I'm underground? I don't know. Let's go, but watch me go.
Take a deep breath in, can you feel that? That's 1 in a billion, wait, 1 in a trillion. A life that's been given, a life that's worth living. I don't wanna miss it, I'll get up and get it. Cause I got a vision, I got ambitions. I've got the energy, I'm on a mission. Passion and purpose, they light the ignition. I made a decision, so listen up. I'm here to take a stance. You cannot keep me down, digging from underground. I'm here to take a chance, never down for the count. I'll go another round. Do you believe? Yes, I believe. I can achieve, I'll do it for me. I wanna be free, I have to be free. So get off your knees, stand up and believe. I don't need money, I don't need fame. That shit is all coming as soon as I change. Take a step forward, the path is the same. 1 step at a time, push through all the pain. I just need me, I need belief. These gatekeepers try to keep me from a dream. A game made of gold, all money and souls. I'll never give up till I rip through their walls. I'll take the risk, I'll take the hits. The bigger the gamble, the bigger the win. Like Chester, it's crawling through all of my skin. Adrenaline pumping, I'll push to the end. Doesn't even matter, we all die in the end. No happily ever after, fuck yeah, it all matters. We all die, but my soul takes a whole new chapter.
1 life left, so I gotta make it count. 2 bloody hands, work hard just to build it now. 3 more doubts in my head, try to tear me down. But I won't let it show. Falling's carrying me along through the struggle now. 5 toes dangle off the edge, don't look down. 6 feet deep, what will I leave when I'm underground? I don't know, but watch me go.
Hello guys, welcome back. It's Logical as always, and today it's going to be Let's Talk Khaimera, because I figured doing a full rundown of Khaimera might actually be something actually beneficial to the community and so on and so forth. It's kind of weird in how I'm viewing it, but I figured considering nobody else has done a deep dive, a general guide, anything like this here, I figured it might be a good time to do one of these things. So for our conclusion, we are actually going to be using Omega City in my reference material for our conclusion, because there's a lot of stuff that Omega City actually does use, or does give us information that we could really use in our conclusion, so it does. Right? Now, my point simply does stand that Khaimera is still exceptionally powerful as he stands. Now, no matter what, as long as certain things don't change, he is exceptionally powerful. The main thing, there's 2 things I want to mainly display from this particular screen, is of his base stats and his abilities. The main thing that I want to point out is the fact that he does have a weakness to magical damage. This means that building some form of magical defense will be exceptionally beneficial to him. It's as simple as that. That's really all I have to say. So just keep that in mind whenever you are building. We will get to that in a moment. The main reason why I'm here is to deal with this. Now I have to actually pull this up just to demonstrate this, so I do, because unfortunately Streamlabs won't capture the entire screen that I'm looking at. Now, taking this into account, you have his basic attack, his ambush, his unleash, invigorate, cull, and spirit regeneration. These are all exceptionally powerful things, and as long as these do not change, as long as there is no rework to his kit right now, he will forever be a powerful jungler. He will forever be king of the jungle. So he will be, because as long as this kit stays the same, he will be a dominant fighter no matter which way you want to swing it. taking that into account. His basic attack is his basic attack. That's simple enough. His ambush, however, is his bread and butter. So it is. This is the ability that you're going to be leveling up first. It's not the first ability that you select. You pick Unleash to speed up your farm, but then you pick up Ambush so you can score kills. This is Khaimera's bread and butter, so it is. Long story short. Following that up, we've got his Unleash. Unleash is normally your second priority for leveling, so it is. And this is how he starts to snowball. This is normally your second priority, whereas you give your Invigorate your third priority. Now, depending on their team comp, you'll want to give your Invigorate more priority over your Unleash, simply due to the fact that as long as you're leveling Ambush, you have damage, no matter which way you want to swing it. That's how I see it. Now, again, these two are interchangeable in their leveling systems, so they are. Invigorate can be changed and switched with Unleash depending on which way you want to go. Again, auto attack builds may want to favor Unleash over Invigorate, but again, if it's a CC heavy meta, then you want to prioritize your Invigorate over your Unleash. On that there, level up Cull whenever you get a chance. Didn't mean to highlight Invigorate. Level up Cull whenever you get your opportunities, and then Spirit Regeneration is what makes Khaimera as much of a monster as he is. If you are not building anti-heal, he is going to snowball into oblivion. Build anti-heal early. It is his main counter and anybody has access to it. Build anti-heal, because if you do not, Khaimera is going to run over your team. That is all I considering as of right now, I would be considered a Khaimera main. Again, this is a key point that I need to make. So it is. You will see going forward how not building anti-heal is going to be a problem. Now, other than that there, what I want to bring up is his builds. I have to correct, sorry, I do apologize. I have to correct my screen here, so I do. There we go. Into his builds, right? Now, again, his crest is normally self-explanatory, but again, people do lean more towards the Brutal Axe and the Ice-Scoring Claws. I don't mind this. I genuinely don't. These are two very good items. Brutal Axe is normally used in very heavy CC, and Ice Scoring Claws are normally used to help with ganks. What one's this one again? The Razorback is mostly just for damage reflection. This is just to apply a little bit of tank. Why did that not come up the first time? I don't know why, right? But my personal preference, as you'll see going forward, is going to be Zephyr's Mantle. This gives you a good bit of defense as well as a stacking health boost. So it does. This item is exceptionally underrated on a Khaimera, but if people prefer the extra CC cleanse, work away. Now, major one that I want to bring up is slot 1. Now again, as I'm going to bring this up, you will normally only get your first 3 to 4 items set up. So you will. The first thing that I'm going to have to bring up is you have Basilisk. Now in slot 1, this is what people are choosing. Basilisk, Ashbringer, Sky Splitter, Overlord, and Berserker's Axe. Now again, you will see this as we go on in this conclusion that these are all very solid items. I didn't test them all for simple reasons, so I did. Berserker's Axe is simply outclassed by another item. In saying that there, the movement speed alone does add an awful lot. The only restriction is his passive, so it does. And that is a big thing for this item because it can be purely outscaled. Overlord takes time to stack and is normally paired with several other items to get the benefit from. Sky Splitter is exceptionally powerful, but with you building into it, you're mitigating a lot of other things because one of your stats is dead, and that being the attack speed. 9 times out of 10, you're only building Sky Splitter, so you can use its rend ability. Follow that up with Ashbringer. Again, follows the same context. It is just a more aggressive version of an item that we do prioritize later on. Following that up, then you have Basilisk. Regardless to what way you want to swing it, you're always going to build Basilisk on Khaimera. It is a perfect tank shred. On to slot 2, people are building Berserker's Axe, Draconium, Tainted Blade, or Basilisk, or Sky Splitter. The only thing that I'm going to make very clear right here, right now, is Tainted Blade needs to be built early game to get your effectiveness from it. Because so many people, so many things build healing. Tainted Blade is a game changer, even against opposing Chimeras. Even if they build into Draconium with Tainted Blade, you're going to be able to beat them into submission. By third item, then you really want to be, depending on which way that the enemy team comp is lining up, this is where you really do want to be building either into your Draconium or your Void Helmet. Now, depending on who you are fighting and what their team comps are, depends on which your third slot's going to be. It is either going to be Draconium or it's going to be Void Helmet. Either or is going to be exceptionally beneficial. By fourth slot, you're building into Basilisk. So this is very useful, very handy, and it is very powerful. At this stage in the game, people are starting to build armor, and you're going to be wanting to be shredding it and getting into fights as much as possible. And with the help of Khaimera's ult, you're able to instantly stack it. We will cover this in a lot more detail. The remaining 2 items, quite frankly, is purely up to yourselves on what you want to do. It is purely up to your own build methods, so it is, and that's how I see it. Now, going on past that there, we'll take a look at his statistics. So he will, as says, his win rate by minute. Wow, okay. Before it says Khaimera has a fucking staggering thing. So he does kills by minute. Khaimera is definitely up there. So he is, in terms of levels, quite steady. Damage per minute is staggering, but it does drop off towards the end game because people are starting to build a good bit of armor. Khaimera is always exceptionally consistent at his goal line. So, again, it is as simple as that. So it is, Khaimera is a very consistent, powerful jungler. His counters, however, now this is where I have a little bit of a gripe to bite into. So again, I do apologize, I'm going to have to move this a little bit. So I am, right? Khaimera is strong against Greystone, Boris, Sereth, Rampage, and Wukong. This I do genuinely disagree with. But then whenever we go to weaknesses, you have Cyberog, Yin, Morn, Wukong. Now, explain this to me. How is he weak and strong against Wukong? This I need an explanation for. And then you got Richter as well. Now, again, I have to say this in the most polite sense. None of these weaknesses to strengths really apply for a few reasons. It is purely down to how you play Khaimera and how you build Khaimera. It's quite simple. I have covered just about everything I need to do with the help of Omega City, so let's get back into my original recordings. So, we've already covered Khaimera from the point of his abilities and what Omega City has to say about it. Now, what I really do want to go into now is everything that I've tested, basically everything that comes after the TLDR segment of this here is basically everything that I've tested. This is my opinion, my view on things, and how everything went. We tested out the recommended build. It didn't do well, but it did what it needed to do. It is a very soft fit for Khaimera. The only problem is I did have a few points to make to what the recommended build was trying to do. As says, it wasn't, as I always find it, is recommended builds are always a guideline. They're never the must build at that exact minute, so they are. Then we moved into auto attack builds, and I started to feel like something was missing from Khaimera, because it seemed to be that I was getting more assists than I was kills. And now again, that could just be down to the matches that I played and so on and so forth, but it did seem to have that consistent ramification where it just didn't work as well to what I wanted it to. It didn't do what I wanted it to do, so it didn't. And that was why after we got our wake up call in our second match where we got absolutely decimated, as says, we got absolutely decimated in our second auto attack match, and our second auto attack build match, and that made me sort of think, right, okay, let's see if there's anything else that we can really sort of spice up our builds with. So I started to test out the health build, for example, that a lot of people do tend to like to use, and unfortunately it fell short as well, coming in at 8, 7 and 14. And that was a major issue for me, because I knew that we needed more damage early game. I just didn't know how to accurately obtain it, is my point. So then I came up with this, I had this epiphany of I've now called it the Tainted Omen build, but throughout the rest of this video it is just going to be Omen builds. But the first match that I played with Omen, I scored 12, 0 and 5, and I was like, damn, that actually worked really well. So let's keep this rhythm going. And it seemed to have more consistent results than everything else that I tried. Because as says, consistency is a big thing whenever it comes to your build testing. And building a one-off fluke that is really good is shocking, right? Because as says, you can test random builds. I've run Crit Khaimera in the past, and it has done well. Unfortunately, the meta does not allow does not allow crit Khaimera that much anymore, because crit Khaimera was monstrous. You can still try it, it's probably not going to work as well for you, because again, it does rely very highly on crit. So it does as it's crit Kai. But we didn't test it because we wanted something that worked in Kai's favour, and this is where the Tainted Omen build came from. And it's basically, our first two items is Omen and Tainted Blade. This 2-item combo is actually nasty, so it is. And I will go through more to why this 2-item combo is actually nasty. But continuing that there, as it says, if you look at the results that we got, the results for the Tainted Omen build is far more consistent and far more powerful than anything else that we have previously tried. So in my opinion, the Omen start, or the Tainted Omen build, is probably your best go-to. And I'm going to break down why that is the case. So when I was looking at this here, in slot 1, obviously I've used Berserker's Axe as a reference point, simply due to the fact that Berserker's Axe is the one that comes up in the recommended builds, but it's not just that there, it is also the cheapest option of your starting items. And Omen, it just so happens to be a pure damage variant of Berserker's Axe, so it does, and it also comes in at a slightly cheaper range as well. Now Berserker's Axe comes in at 3050 and Omen comes in at 3000, coming in at slightly cheaper. The 50 extra gold will allow you to build into your next item slightly sooner than what you might think. Now, taking this into consideration, it's not bad, but the way that we have to look at this here, this is a bruiser option versus a pure damage option, so it is. And again, I could compare this against the other items within this category, like Overlord, Overlord, Sky Splitter, Ashbringer, and Basilisk. The big thing is though, is each of those items are more expensive than Omen and have slight drawbacks that Omen doesn't have. Now again, with Berserker's Axe being a bruiser option, you do have slightly more tank, but early game, Omen, in my opinion, is a superior option. Let's break it down to why. Berserker's Axe comes in at 40 physical power, whereas Omen comes in at 45 physical power, taking the damage advantage in this scenario, so it does. Berserker's Axe comes with maximum health, so it does again lean into the bruiser side of things. Both items come with ability haste, only Omen comes in slightly weaker at 10 in comparison to the Berserker's Axe 15. And funnily enough, as I did discover this here on a re-recording, this actually hinders the item, and we will explain why in a moment, so we will. And then Berserker's Axe comes at 3% movement speed. Movement speed is exceptionally powerful as a prefix on an item, simply due to the fact that it allows you to rotate quicker as well as gank and get to objectives. So it does, it allows you to do so much. Movement speed is probably one of the key aspects in a MOBA, so it is. Now, back to Omen. Whereas Berserker's Axe comes with movement speed and maximum health, Omen comes with physical penetration. Again, this is your pure damage item, and that penetration does a lot to help. It won't help as much against giga tanks, but it will help at being able to deal with squishy targets. But the main thing that I have to bring up is the passives of both of these items. We're going to cover Berserker's Axe first, and then we're going to follow up by talking about Omen and comparing the two. Berserker's Axe's passive is called Blitz. So it is on dashing or leaping, empower your next basic attack within 3 seconds to deal 50 damage plus 40% of your physical scaling as damage. So it is a high damage ability. Plus it adds on a slow for 0.75 seconds. This is your ganker's essential item, so it is. As well as its Maze Runner ability, on crossing a fog wall, you gain 15% movement speed for 1.5 seconds. This is your jungler's main item. This is basically the perfect item. Unfortunately, it works against itself with its ability haste. There is an 8-second cooldown on Blitz, and this is a problem for the item because it means that it's only active maybe once or twice, once actually after your ambush. It more or less, you'll be doing 3 ambushes for 1 Berserker's Axe proc, because I think the baseline, once you max out your ambush, I do believe that the actual base cooldown of the ambush at max level is actually 8 seconds. I'm going to check. It is 8 seconds on the dot at max level. So that means once you proc your ambush with the 15% ability, or the 15 ability haste that you have, your ambush is going to be up again sooner than your Berserker's Axe. This works very, very much so against Berserker's Axe's overall damage. So again, this becomes a problem in this scenario. So it does, especially for the uses of Khaimera, who wants to have ambush up as frequently as possible and to do as much damage as possible. So considering this item comes with ability haste, this actually hinders this item for Khaimera's use, because it means that you're going to have to use 3 ambushes just to get 2 procs out of Berserker's Axe. Now let's compare this against Omen. Omen is called Bestial Momentum. While moving or landing basic attacks, you generate stacks of momentum. At 100 stacks, you empower your next basic attack on hit to deal 30 damage plus 10% of your damage, and then reduces all non-ultimate cooldowns by 30%. This means that you're consistently, this is ongoing. This is passive damage at all times. So it is, you'll randomly hit a point where you're going to do massive damage in one hit. So you are, and this benefits ambush greatly. So it does, because you generate your 100 stacks, you ambush a target, smack them, and it immediately refreshes 30% of your cooldown, which more or less, funnily enough, even at level 1, your ambush is a 10-second cooldown. With Omen, it drops down to a 7-second cooldown, and that's not already including that the plus 10 ability haste that Omen inherently gives you. And this is where Omen becomes a more powerful starting option than Berserker's Axe. Actually, in my opinion, probably a more powerful starting item than any of the other possible items that you could decide on. And this is a big driving factor for Omen. So it is, because even whenever you ambush on someone, whereas Berserker's Axe will give you more initial burst damage, Omen gives you a lot more sustained damage, because you're constantly building up those momentum stacks and building damage. So you are, and it's also refreshing your cooldowns as well, meaning that you're constantly being able to pop ability after ability after ability. Not just that there, this also benefits you in this scenario of taking your objectives. So it does, because it means at random intervals you will gain extra damage against the likes of Orb Prime or Fangtooth. This is a massive boost in my opinion. As says, test it for yourself and see what you think. Now that I've covered why Omen is a superior item to most of the other starting items, let's go in and see what slot 2 has to offer. So for slot 2, there's normally a good deal of options, but my actual recommended option is actually in slot 2, which is very good in this scenario. Slot 1 was a little bit more in detail, but slot 2 is a little bit more clear cut. So it is. As says, people will normally build either Ashbringer, Draconium, Berserker's Axe, Basilisk, or Tainted Blade. The only real answer you have in this argument is Tainted Blade. Because again, Ashbringer is a high offense item, but unfortunately one of its stats is redundant. Draconium, it is too early to be building that level of health regen, due to the fact that Khaimera's natural health regen is more than adequate to be able to deal with what you're dealing with in that early stage of the game. Tainted Blade is absolutely, in my opinion, straight up damn mandatory. We've already covered why Berserker's Axe is completely outclassed by Omen, and Basilisk, again, it is still too early to be building it. Tainted Blade is your go-to option, and the reason why is it gives you physical power, it gives you health, it gives you your even more ability haste to boost your Omen's abilities, and then it also comes with Blighted Strikes. Upon dealing physical damage, their healing is reduced. Guys, if you get into the ending of this, like the entire freaking like near 2-hour segment that comes after this, right? Trust me, with the amount of healing that you see, normally most people's first 2 items in some scenarios is healing. The Warrior Crest inherently comes with Omnivamp. The Archery Crest comes with healing. Everything more or less built early game is to do with healing. You are going to shut them down hard if you build Tainted Blade's second item. There is no argument. Even Khaimera's second, even his slot 2 is considered with the use of Draconium. So again, you're going to hamstring them. You're going to absolutely gut their ability to heal with the help of Tainted Blade. There is nothing they can do. There is nothing that they can stand against. They will, whereas they are going to think whenever you leap on them, they're going to think, oh, I'm just going to heal up just as much as you are. No, they are not. I have jumped on Gruxes who think that they're going to box through me and end up getting absolutely devoured. So they do. Because they think that they can out-heal me. As says, this is a big thing that I have to cover, is because so many people come with some form of inherent healing that Tainted Blade just outright shuts down. So this is a big thing that I have to do. This is a big thing that I really do have to drive home. And then you have the this is the creme de la creme for why Tainted Blade is as powerful as it is. It comes with hacks. On dealing ability damage to a blighted target, cause them to take 5% more damage for 3 seconds. This means that whenever you leap on someone, they're going to be taking more damage. It's more or less as simple as that. And this is a big thing that I do need to bring up, is the fact that Tainted Blade works so well with Khaimera. So it does. And this is why these two items in combination I have dubbed the Tainted Omen. And this is why. I'm probably going to regret showing everybody this, but again, look, if it makes you a better jungler and it makes you a better Khaimera, be my guest. People need to get more experimental with their build pathing rather than sticking to what they think will work. Trust me, test stuff out. Building anti-heal second item for me going forward is going to be goddamn mandatory, so it is. That's all I have to say on that. That covers slot 1 and slot 2, which is more or less the baseline of the build. So it is. There is one last thing I do need to cover, and I should have covered it first. Damn it. So, quick ramification, there's something that I really quickly need to explain here, is the fact that this has actually been updated while I've been away at work. So it has. So in the previous Omega City that I was covering, it had Brutal Axe as well as Ice Scorn Claws having more use, but it has now changed to having these instead. Judgment and Ice Scorn are now the middle two, and now all of the tankier items are now at the tail end, which is like, okay, this is actually quite interesting because Razorback and Zephyr's Mantle are now higher pick rates, and my personal preference in items is Zephyr's Mantle. But my reasoning for building Zephyr's Mantle probably changes from a lot of other people's, and the reason why I build Zephyr's Mantle is because it gives you the early game tankiness, because Khaimera is able to stack the Titan's crest so easily, so he is. But not just that there, it comes with maximum health, physical armor and magical armor, so it does, but then it also increases your size and maximum health by 12% for 6 seconds, deals damage, and then gives you a permanent health boost afterwards. This is exceptionally powerful because this completely mitigates your need for a stupidly mid item early, so it does, because it means that basically with Zephyr's Mantle's existence, it means that I'm able to build in 2 Omen, and I can then mitigate the health that I would have lost by building another item. Basically, it mitigates that need, so it does allow me to build into a straight up tankier or straight up more damage oriented item first off. Now again, the other options that you have here, the only one that I have real questions about is the use of Judgment in this case with the Thundercleaver passive. That is the only one, unless you are looking to speed up your clear and speed and stuff like that there, the use of this kind of shocks me a little bit, but Razorback and Zephyr's Mantle are pretty solid options, and they're pretty interchangeable because they more or less do the same thing in different ways, because you're only going to pop Razorback whenever you get into a scrap, and again with Zephyr's Mantle that's the only time that you're going to pop it. So it is. Only thing is Razorback is a lot more of a tanky item in the direct sense, as it boosts your magical and physical defense, whereas Zephyr's Mantle is in the health oriented section. So quite frankly, in my scenario, both of them are interchangeable. Personal preference for me, is Zephyr's Mantle. That's more or less the long and the short of it in that scenario. With everything being said, done and tested, I do believe that Khaimera is, yeah, he is just below S tier, but he is definitely the top of A tier whenever it comes to junglers. He is unmatched in what he does, and he does it very damn well. So he does. As says, there's probably a few niche soft counters, I would say. There's a few niche soft counters, but it purely depends on how they play and how they build as well. As says, I can't really say much more. As says, I've given you all of the information I can in this TLDR, so I have. And yeah, this is more or less the conclusion on the TLDR, all in one lovely little starting point. So it is, can't really say much more. He is the most dominant jungler that we have. As says, he is able to box with the best of them. With anti-heal, he's able to box Countess and Greystone. With enough durability and defense, he's even able to box against a Boros or a Grux. I have demonstrated this in my videos that there is not really many ways to shut down a Khaimera if you are not building correctly. I know from experience that Boros, Grux, Countess likes to build into healing first item or second item or both. The second that you get your hands on that Tainted Blade, everything goes downhill for the enemy team unless they are exceptionally good with what they do. But as an overall hero within Predecessor, I will give him the borderline tier between S and A, basically. He is the top jungler at the minute, and he will be, as long as his kit stays the same, he will be the same Khaimera. So he will. I don't think he will ever fall from grace in this scenario, so I don't. But yes, I will leave you there. As says, all of the following information is basically, I've just accumulated it into this little section, so I have. So I hope you enjoy. You can watch the matches if you want. I've given you the TLDR, so I have. You can watch the matches and see how each of them performed and how I've got them edited down for you. But as says, if you did enjoy this little TLDR, I hope you did. I hope you found some of it informational, and please like, share and subscribe at this stage. Now I have to go and actually make a proper conclusion. So, I'll see you in a bit. Sorry, as a very quick side note, he has not been tested. I have not personally tested him in patch 1.57, so I haven't, not just yet. But from the looks of it, I have taken a look at the patch notes, and the patch notes don't seem to hinder him too much. So more or less, it's not really much of a problem. The videos, the fights, the matches that took place were in 1.45 as well as 1.5. That was all of the matches that were recorded. So there were no matches were recorded in 1.57. But regardless of that they're concerned, I took a look at the patch notes and nothing really sort of hindered Khaimera's progression in that sense. I don't think it affected him all that much. So that is the reason why that has not been sort of covered, so it hasn't. But yeah, that's my little side note. I just wanted to bring that up because I noticed it whenever I was doing the conclusion, so I figured I'd bring it up now. So I would, just as a side note before we actually get into the actual absurdness of the video. So I do apologize, but again guys, bye. Let's take a look at what the game gives us is what I'm looking for, right? Because this is where I get really curious to how things operate within the game, right? So he is a fighter. That is self-explanatory. Everybody should know who Khaimera is at this stage. He is, in my opinion, the king of the jungle. So he is, in my opinion, right? Now he doesn't really benefit in any other roles because he does purely perform from being a jungler. So he does, right? So he has 7 in basic attack, 6 in durability, 3 in mobility, and 3 in ability power. This does and doesn't, I do and don't agree with this here. He is a basic attack jungler, or an auto attack jungler, so he is, so ability power is not needed, but one of his abilities is his bread and butter. Do you see what I mean here? On that there, his durability should be a little bit higher, but he can get hard countered later on. He has no mobility unless you count one of his abilities, and that there's him running you down. And then you have his ability power, which again is the same ability. His other abilities are so-so. The main thing that I do have to bring up though is his passive. His passive is absolutely nuts. This gives him an insane amount of healing as well as a good amount of movement speed if he can get at least 15 stacks on you. If you're getting into a prolonged fight, you're not getting away from him, but it is his passive overall that does give him the ability to box just about anybody, as long as he can stick to them. Any form of slows will horribly hinder him, but then, in saying that though, what comes later can be rectified, so it can be. Now, moving on, you just have his standard basic attack. His basic attack is somewhat his bread and butter. So it is, because this is what you're going to be using to kill just about everybody that comes into view of you. So it is. And saying that there, is it the strongest basic attack? Absolutely not. But does it have its uses? Absolutely true. With everything being said, let's get into his bread and butter. His alternate ability, Ambush. This, to me, is his bread and butter. This is what you should be leveling as you are gaming. Once you hit level 5, this is just, long story short, this is what you're going to be leveling, because it does high damage, it slows, it is your main engagement tool, it gives you those stacks of spirit regeneration, and it also deals additional damage depending if they're missing health or not. This is, in my opinion, Khaimera's bread and butter. This is what makes Khaimera such a dominant foe to fight, because this means if you do try to get away with him, he can just jump on you. There is no escaping a Khaimera once he gets going. You may pray that his cooldowns last long enough, but I will assure you now that his cooldowns aren't long enough for his ambush. I'm going to make that very clear. That would be the one way to really nerf him into the ground. His next ability, and his primary ability, is his Unleash. Basically, unleash Khaimera's primal spirit for 3 seconds, granting him maximum attack speed for 5 successful attacks. This means that he can stack items exceptionally quickly, as well as he loses a bit of damage from what I'm aware of. He does lose a bit of damage whenever he uses this ability, but because he gets such high attack speed, the attack speed counteracts the damage deficit, so it kind of makes sense in that scenario. But it does allow him to stack certain items exceptionally quickly, and it makes him very dangerous to box with, depending on the build that he's building into. There are also ways to counteract the damage difference that happens with this ability. Next up, we have his secondary ability, which is his Invigorate. To me, personally, this is the least important of his abilities, because simply it just cleanses crowd controls, any slows, debuffs, anything like that there. It cleanses and it heals. Primarily, I only use this here for the cleanse, because no harm, if Khaimera does get CC trained, you really do need, or CC chained, you really do want something that can hopefully get you out of a snag, because what you have to remember is Khaimera is an all-in character. So once he goes into a fight, it is either he is going to die or he is going to win. Escaping is normally not an option. Then finally, we have his almighty ultimate, which is called Cull, after our brief channel, and I've missed this more times than I would like to admit, but it is what it is. Khaimera slices all enemies in front of him, stunning them and dealing damage. But here's where the crutch comes in. It says it deals physical damage over 6 hits, and the final hit slows, right? This is specifically dangerous for certain items. It means that he can instant proc items, so it does, because it counts as 6 individual hits. This means that he can stack the likes of Basilisk instantly, so he can. So be wary of this, because there is also other items that can actually benefit from this. But yes, other than that now that we've taken a look at his overall setup and his abilities, what we are then going to do is we are going to move into several matches that I have had. Now these do contain different builds, because I want to see where he leans into, and then finally we'll draw up our overall conclusions, as well as take a look at the Omega City to see what it says as well, because Omega City is a good way to see what is going on. So yeah, on to the first match, the Siege with the recommended build. This is the teams that we're more or less looking at. Grooks is there, so this is going to be interesting. So yeah, we're going to be running the recommended build, seeing how she performs, and we're going to run it through. This match lasts 40 minutes. We're going to be running. I just already decided, right, we'll take a look at the recommended build and just run with it from there. As it says, we pick up our Unleash first thing to make sure that everything goes to plan, and then I get basically bombshelled. Like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck is this recommended build? Hey, hang on, sorry. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so after a little bit of quick editing, I managed to get it all compiled into a way that I normally edit this stuff, so I do. But yes, what is this build? I'm sorry, but I have so many questions. Why is this the recommended setup? This doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. This is completely and utterly against everything Khaimera works with. Well, it's not even. It's just, why is this built the way that it is? There's a few items in here that I understand the use of, but Khaimera, like, because they've changed certain things, these items don't work as well as you would at least ideally think, right? Now, again, Crest, I have no issues with in terms of this here. Look, Ice Scoring Claws has its uses, it has its effectiveness. I'm not going to compete that there. Each crest has their own uses. Is it the personal crest that I personally use? Absolutely not. Right? First item, Berserker's Axe. This I understand, but my problem with it is it is situational at best. Because they changed how Berserker's Axe scales, it no longer scales with health, which means that it doesn't have the same level of benefit that people seem to think that it has, right? It doesn't scale correctly, in my opinion, but there's simply due to the fact that they removed the health scaling from it. Second item being Basilisk. It is being built too early in the game for it to actually have any real value. And the reason why I'm saying this here is because Basilisk is an armor shred, so it is. And having it this early built doesn't benefit you as much as it would if it was built 3rd, 4th, or 5th item. Because the early game armor, you can punch through it with normal power. So this shocks me, so it does. The biggest shock to me, and I'm not even going to joke about this, is what in the under Jehebus is Earthshaker doing in a Khaimera build. I am sorry, but this item is completely useless on Khaimera. First of all, it is an attack speed item. Why is this being picked up? It is an attack speed item. Khaimera does not need attack speed. He has maximum attack speed for majority of a fight. So he does, thanks to his Unleash. So why is this item being chosen here of all places, right? Don't, right? Then you go into your Draconium and your Void Helmet, right? Now, these two are self-explanatory on Khaimera. These boost your regeneration. These I have no issues with. Where I have an issue with is the fact that they are being built so late into a game that they basically become useless. Oh boy, plus the hard countering, which I'll explain in a second, because then you have Tainted Blade. This is just the order that I built them in, because Tainted Blade's technically meant to be in the blue section, which is your optional pickups, right? I don't even want to know what the final pickup for the item was. I think it was either Salvation or Frostguard, which is just a hard pass, right? Salvation works well on Khaimera if you build a good bit of health on him, which is probably why Earthshaker's there, right? Frostguard's also very good because it's purely defense, but you gain no health from it, and Sky Splitter adds a different argument for later on in the video. So it is. This build to me makes no sense, but it has the same ramifications. You will understand in a minute, well, a few minutes, why this setup doesn't work and why Sky Splitter is a particular thorn for me, so it is. But yes, long story short, I'm running a scuffed build in this one, so yeah, please bear with me because this gets rough real quick. So back to the match here. So this is normal farming routine, so it is, but obviously with being Khaimera I was aiming to do a slightly different routine and going in for an early invade. Now luckily enough my team had actually put their carry and support on the ropes, but at the exact same time abusing my ability to ambush this early in the game was the plan. Problem is we burned off both of their teleports. Now, me thinking this is a good idea, I decided to go into their jungle, not realising that Countess had already cleared it, but I was too bloodthirsty with the gank. Countess manages to be there because, of course, I didn't realise that Countess is a magical jungler, which means that she's going to want the blue buff over the red buff. So this was an error in judgment on my behalf, so it was. Unfortunately, this went horribly wrong early game because having a death this early in the game can have serious ramifications for you. But then at the exact same time, I don't exactly have what you would consider high hopes for my build. So I don't. Like I said, I don't have high hopes for this recommended build. But we continued on as always. Our Grooks got pushed back, so I decided to try and cover him in lane and try to score a gank on the Grooks. Grooks immediately retreated, which was the sensible option, not knowing that the Grooks probably could have killed me quite quickly there. We're building in our ability haste because this is what Khaimera benefits from. This time though, because their TPs or their teleports are still down, Grim more or less meets a swift fate in this scenario. This is going to be one of the key things that you're going to see throughout this particular match, is the fact that Khaimera is always effective at being able to take out other objectives, be it Orb Prime or Fangtooth. This is something that is going to be a common occurrence, so it is. I do feel sorry for the Grooks here because my red buff ended up stealing the Orb Prime on him, and I do apologise because that Orb Prime for him could have possibly changed the flow of the game for him. Immediately rotated over to dual lane, farming as I go because I want to make maximum effort out of this, so I do. So we take out the Grim once again, and again Scorch is rotated into dual lane, and well, he's going to meet a very similar demise. What we're after now is, or what I'm after is I've got Orb Prime, I've got a wave of minions, I'm taking this tower. There is not going to be an argument in it. It's not even early in the game, we're 9 minutes in. Technically it is still early game because we've only got one item online, but at this stage of the game, I'm aiming to completely render this tower completely useless. So I am. That is my genuine plan. And I'm hoping in this scenario that what ends up happening is this gives our dual lane enough time to either snowball and or be able to rotate a little bit more. Now this is where I really bit off more than I could chew. With the combination of Berserker's Axe and the tier 2 of Basilisk, I was thinking to myself that I could take on Grooks. This will become relevant later on because Grooks, in my opinion, is actually one of Khaimera's hard counters, as he displayed. Could have also been the 3-level advantage he had, but it is what it is. Of course, Khaimera's greed is always to be feared because Khaimera is always greedy, taking out the Fae with the combination of Ice Scoring Claws. Now again, do I believe Ice Scoring Claws is the best option for Khaimera? Personally, no. But in this scenario, I am literally just aiming for any ganks that I can get my hands on. Basically anything that allows me to gain some form of advantage. On the other hand though, this Countess will proceed to be exceptionally annoying throughout this match. And as I am doing here is I am going through and ensuring that I am picking up what I can for my team. So I am. Now we're building into Earthshaker, which is again, I will not reiterate my feelings on that. Unfortunately, Grooks goes down to the other Grooks, and Countess is now starting to really get built and come online. She is going to become a goddamn problem. But not before I take out their Aegean Scorch. Unfortunately, I didn't have TP, I burned TP, and still couldn't get my ass far enough away because their minions were already under tower, and that was more or less a death sentence because she was going to blink on me regardless in that scenario. I was as good as dead. So it was. Balka's rotated, so she has. I'm aiming for Aegean Scorch again because Aegean Scorch can't get away from me. And the worst thing you could ever do is stasis in front of a Khaimera because you're not getting away from him. Faye's trying to play the interruption game, but I'm at the point where I've got enough health to be able to do something, and Countess was looking for a cheeky gank. Faye's gets nipped, so I decide to be the sacrificial pawn here, which is something I should really stop doing. My Invigorate comes in handy there, making sure that I'm able to dodge the Faye's ult, and then it turns into a miniature cleanup. Unfortunately, Countess has the exact same idea, and now I'm going to get CC chained into fucking shit. Fuck, I hate Countess sometimes, so I do. Unfortunately, our team is quite passive as well. But long story short, what we're able to do is try to get as many ganks in and as many kills as possible. And again, I whiff the cull. I don't know how I whiff it. I just manage to a lot of the time. So I do, and in this scenario, I get my ass out of dodge, rotate back round, and again, I don't know why stasis is used. Stasis is only really good against a Morghesh or somebody who has long range, because it means that you can stasis their ult. I'm going to jump in here to try and instigate a strong fight. I didn't hit my Invigorate like an absolute idiot and ended up getting minced for it. Here I'm going to get double minced because of a Countess. Countess has healing for days. Can you guess what my recommended build does not have? And can you guess what I build into last item? Of course you do, because you've already seen it. Because this Countess becomes a problem real fucking quickly, so she does. Sorry, I'm having a drink. So I am. So yes. And then as a result of all of the bugging about, a team wipe. Normally whenever you get a team wipe, it's normally going to be really bad. And it does get to a point of bad, so it does. Faye not understanding that I am the most aggressive Khaimera you're ever going to see, and she also whips her ult. I feel sorry for her. So I do. And immediately I'm trying to be the sacrificial pawn once again, because what I want to do is try and interfere with anything that they're trying to do with Prime Orb. But of course, Countess does Countess things. God damn it. Right. Now this is where the problem comes in. Now this could have been a combination of the level difference or the fact that they had Orb Prime. But as I'm going to say here, people say, oh, but Grooks can, or Khaimera, or Grooks is weak to Khaimera. No, he is not. Grooks is a hard goddamn counter. Grooks took me out and then proceeded to take out the other Grooks. Now, you can chalk that up to Orb Prime, dodgy building, or anything else that you want to say. I'm leaning towards dodgy building here, guys. But this is where the surrender this is where they start to try to surrender, and unfortunately this Grooks is now on a full-blown tear, so he is. So not only is their Countess hard carrying with how well she's playing, the Grooks is also on the verge of hard carrying because he is taking on all comers and not giving a shit. All I'm trying to do is buy time for our stronger fighters to come back into place, but of course Grooks makes quick work of me yet again. And now we're stuck in a siege. I'm going to say this quite a bit this video because that's exactly where we're going to be stuck for the next little while. So it is where we just get stuck with all 3 inhibitors down and we can't move. So much fun. Interactive gameplay, you know? And immediately I'm getting blitzed down immediately on sight. It is nearly like I am the thorn of their existence. But there is something much bigger I need to bring up later on, so there is. But no, I'm trying to add as much interference as possible by being annoying and or tanky. Luckily enough, Twin Blast manages to take out the Countess after she murks me. And we are stuck yet again in the siege phase of things. That's a nasty pun. Sorry, didn't mean it. But yes, we are stuck in the siege phase yet again. We've got no inhibitors and no way to retaliate. Luckily enough, Bellica just so happens to start taking actually start taking names. It was about time, but then Iggy and Scorch takes her off the list as well. But I think it was thanks to Bellica taking out the Countess as well, or the Iggy and Scorch, that really saved us, because Iggy and Scorch is particularly devious when dealing with things like that there. Now I think this is the moment where we make our play. No, it isn't, because by the time I got there, they had already taken it. So their speed and ability of being able to take things is unnecessary. But I had the epiphany of being, I fucked up. Of course, as soon as you seen the Countess appear around the corner, you knew I had fucked up. Simply off the basis of, they just took Prime Orb and I'm sitting in offlane like an idiot. And now we're back to the sieging. Why? I don't know. We're still stuck in a siege after all of that again. But Bellica makes a return play and just goes, right, Grooks can go away now. And now they're moving for the counter offensive. So they are. Our inhibitors are back up, so they don't have super minions, but it still doesn't help us in any meaningful way, because the inhibitors have been previously destroyed, so they're not going to retaliate against minions. Bellica manages to pop off, which is always nice, so it is. And then we go for we run interference on Primal Fangtooth. So we do. And this is where this build is really starting to annoy me, because there is no reason that Iggy and Scourge should have been able to get out of there. That is bothersome to me. Countess just blinks past, but at this stage what we're aiming to secure is the Primal Fangtooth. Getting this online would be a nice little start for us to start making our comeback, and that is more or less the plan that we're after here. Countess is planning on trying to run interference the same way that I tried to do it prior, but unfortunately, again, the same thing happens to her. She runs interference and she gets deleted, and we can still collect our prize. Relatively quite simple, so it is. What ends up happening though is it goes to more or less immediate waste, because what ends up happening is their entire team just land on top of us with excelled speed, and of course Grim takes me out with his beautiful ult. Of course that is going to be the way of things at this stage. Unfortunately, Grim is actually a very strong counteraction to Khaimera as well, due to the fact that he deals primarily magic damage as a carry. So he is also a great weakness, and he is exceptionally powerful. Unfortunately, again, Scorch is trying to use his siege tactics again, only Bellico is there to counteract him. Big problem being is the fact that we have now lost all 3 inhibitors again, and we're moving for Orb Prime because they're sitting on it. Of course, I take the fastest and most direct route to Orb Prime and try to make myself a nuisance yet again. Only this time, I have both physical and magical defense at this stage online, making me far more durable than ever expected. At this stage, what we're aiming for is I'm looking to secure Orb Prime, but of course my team is in full bloodthirst mode, Belka included, because they're going after each and every last one of their teams. Now, at this stage, I have no idea what's going on outside of what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is I want Orb Prime. And I'm able, at this scenario, the combination of White Helmet combined with Draconium allows me to more or less solo Orb Prime. I never run into any struggles against him, because my healing is just that stupid. Now, Faye manages to take out the Twin Blast in return, because I don't know how she managed to, which is kind of funny to me, but in saying that though, Faye still manages to pick up the Faye. Now, we're aiming for Orb Prime, but unfortunately it's taking a bit of time due to the fact that my entire team decided to straight up abandon me for kills. None of them could have been able to do anything, but regardless, with Orb Prime online now, what I'm looking to do is completely steamroll mid lane. Unfortunately, what Belka wants to do is take out Primal Fang instead, so that's exactly what we decide to do. But again, their team seems to arrive back just in the nick of time to be a goddamn problem. Countess there as well, and then they're able to steal it. Again, a nuisance. But with a double kill with the taking out their Grooks and Countess yet again, the rest of their team I'm not necessarily scared of in this scenario, because again, there are 2 hard counters that have been carrying this game, has been their Grooks and their Countess, which has made life quite difficult for being able to shove and push. But now we're starting to do the counteraction, whereas we've been sieged the last 2 to 3 times. What we're looking to do now is try to put them underfoot. So we're trying to get them into the exact same position that they put us in, because it means that we're now starting to develop advantage. So we are. As it says, this is still a rough game, because again, I have to say it again, this build is scuffed as fuck. But regardless, I'm aiming to try and push straight through inhibitors to try and forge a victory for us. But unfortunately, with being as low as I am and not with the correct setup, this proves to be quite difficult. Now it is finally the opportunity that I've been waiting for, because the recommended build is shit. We are now finally building into Tainted Blade. Tainted Blade, you will be surprised. See going forward in this video, you will realise how important anti-heal is in this game. It actually shocked me while editing this video. You will be surprised at how effective pure anti-heal at the start of the game is. I am actually borderline terrified of how good it actually is and how effective it can actually be. This is going to be a major demonstration that I will bring up. So it will, because once you see what I'm about to point out, holy crap, you will be surprised. So you will. So again, we're going to continue trying to maintain our siege game, so we are. But again, trying to siege an Iggy is damn near impossible with his flame turrets online. It makes him just borderline impossible to try and siege, because he is putting down so much firepower down lane that it's just really hard to try and get through him, to be bluntly honest. So it is. Now, unfortunately, Oh, not unfortunately. Countess gets marked by Twin Blast. Iggy and Scorch is backing to try and give try to help mid lane, but that's not going to work because mid lane has now successfully fallen, and now what we're aiming to do is completely and utterly bombshell this Iggy. If we can remove this Iggy, that means that we no longer need to worry about any counter siege or fortifications, so to speak. Now, problem is though, match is still overwhelmingly scuffed in this scenario. Now I'm aiming to try and take out this Iggy, because if I can remove this Iggy from the equation, we're good. So we are. Even if it costs me, I don't care. It means that we've removed the Iggy. So it does. So now the shoe is on the other foot. Now we are sieging them. So we are. And this is what I like to see. This is the counter siege, so it is. This is finally the moment where we're able to get something done. Now, what I do find utterly hilarious is how this match goes forward to end, though. So we were so close to winning. We obtained our next Primal Fangtooth, so we did. And then we were aiming for the next Orb Prime, of course. But as we made it there, their team has appeared. And this is my revenge against Countess, because Countess can't do anything to me, due to the fact that I now have a form of anti-heal online. And now I get my sweet revenge. Anti-heal is exceptionally important. And then Grooks immediately makes short work of me, and then proceeds to make very quick work of Twin Blast. Now this is where shit goes sideways, due to the fact that with everything going on, there is no way for me to get out of this. Grooks and Faye are behind me. This is a lose-lose scenario. But what I do find utterly hilarious is this right here. I do not know how this came to be. They must have surrendered 3 to 1 or something, and then the surrender went through at the absolute precipice of them taking the win, because they had taken us out. So it's a reason to never surrender, because the other team might surrender first. Now, what I do want to stop here and talk about, that was a 43-minute game. I don't know how long I have it edited down into. Quite frankly, it's not all that important. It's just to show how everything moves and everything performs. Now, remove my recommended build from this entire argument, because it is a heap of garbage. But let's take a look at their team and show us why I had such difficulties being able to deal with them. Grooks, second item, anti-heal. Countess, second item, anti-heal. Iggy and Scorch, fourth item, anti-heal. Grim, second item, anti-heal. It basically meant that if I went in on anybody at any time, my healing was more or less made redundant. And this is where the hard counter to Khaimera comes in. Immediately, Countess and Grooks, bearing in mind that these are the two ones that performed highly in their team. These are the two highest performers in their team, so they are, and they both ran anti-heal, second item to deal with Khaimera. Now, whenever it comes to my team and their use of anti-heal, Twin Blast didn't pick up anti-heal to near the end. FaZe didn't pick up any anti-heal at all, considering there is a ring that gives you an AoE anti-heal. Then you had Bellica, who didn't pick it up to the fourth item. Then you had me, who couldn't even get it built until the very end. And then you had Grooks, who never even bothered building anti-heal in the first place. There was no wonder why their Grooks, running Heartseek or Sky Splitter and Draconium, was able to run through our team. And it also explains the exact same thing with Countess. Countess and Grooks had built enough healing to sustain themselves, because we hadn't built anti-heal until the very goddamn end. This is where I have the epiphany, or the massive wake-up call of this is how you build. This is the correct way to build. So that means that you can punish the enemy harder for building into weaker items early. And this is exactly what I want to bring forward now, because I now know going forward, and you will see this in later builds where I start picking up anti-heal later, or like more or less second item, because I know exactly what people are going to do and what people are going to try and build. So I have now figured that out, and I'm going to run with this, and I'm going to show you throughout these matches and how things adapt and how the builds change, that Khaimera is far more formidable than people do genuinely give him credit for. because people just think he is the general jungler. No, Khaimera is a monstrosity if you let him build. And this is the one thing that I want to demonstrate in this video. We're going to go through tactics, we're going to go through everything I can just to show you exactly how experimenting with things can actually prove beneficial. Let's move on to match 2, and the next build that we're going to be checking in on is going to be the auto attack build. These are the team listings that we're up against, and there is a Seraph in the enemy team. So this is going to be a good wee check-in against Khaimera, with Khaimera against other junglers that you don't normally see, but at the same time though their team does seem relatively quite stacked. Now, before we really do want to continue on, because we are completely and utterly scrapping the recommended build, we are taking items from it, but we are scrapping it in other ways, because again, flexibility is key whenever it comes to Khaimera, and it is good to see. Now, on the other hand though, what I really do want to go into is the build that we get to use, so to speak, right? So if we take a look at what we use for the recommended build versus our auto attack build, we are currently still using Ice Scoring Claws, because for the meantime that's what I wanted to be testing, but we're completely changing it up. Instead of going into Berserker's Axe, we're going to go into Sky Splitter, sorry, not Heartseeker. We're going to be going into Sky Splitter first, and this allows us to build up our auto attack damage. Then, immediately off rip, we are going to be going into Anti-Heal second item, Basilisk third item, and then we build into Draconium, but whenever you see the match, it doesn't actually get to that point. So, let's get back into the match, shall we? Normal start as always, because that's exactly what we're here to do. But immediately I rotate over to, because I'm here, I'm going to immediately insist on ganking this Grooks. So I am Khaimera, I force out a TP, and I pick up a quick, clean, early kill, so I do. Now hopefully that has a snowball effect in this scenario, completely slowing down their Grooks. And then I immediately move into some aggressive jungling, and then rotating straight over to help duo lane, because their Seraph had a similar idea. Problem being is, their Seraph manages to actually get away from me. Sparrow picks me up, Twin Blast picks up the Sparrow, the Seraph. It's a trade, so it is. Can't really complain too much. We're back on the Fangtooth shenanigans, because this is one of Khaimera's major draws, is the fact that he is able to solo both Fangtooth and Orb Prime whenever time is needed. We back up, grab our Ice Scoring Claws. At this stage we already have Heartseeker online, and we're building into our Tainted Blade. Immediate anti-heal, which is going to be ever so very useful once you see what happens later on. Moving on out there, back to Khaimera shenanigans, picking up Orb Prime, and then using that Orb Prime to immediately gank the Grooks. And then Crunch steals the kill. I swear to God, all I got this match was just assist after assist after assist. It's hilarious, but it makes me angry at the same time. Of course, we just took out Grooks, we're going to force the lane, so we are. Then we circle back over to duo lane with Orb Prime. I'm going to continue this spree, so I am. It is what it is. I'm just going to continue this spree. Twin Blast picks up another kill, and I get another assist. The joys. Back on the Fangtooth shenanigans, so we are. The one thing that I will take away from this match is the fact that Khaimera's early game damage really does lack, shockingly enough. Now, what do I mean by that there is the fact that even with Sky Splitter Tainted Blade, I get more assists than anything else in this game. And it is shocking to me. So it is. So Twin Blast gets taken out, and Faye gets caught with her pants down. Because again, Faye drops her ult, and then, of course, immediately, because I'm Khaimera, I'm going to make that ult completely redundant. My problem is how the hell did Faye get out of that? And now I'm going to get grouped up on, because Richter, Seraph, Grooks, and Faye are all really nearby. There is no chance of me getting out of this. Greed be damned. There was no chance of me getting out of it. Building into our Basilisk now. And as you can see, I'm sort of looking at what way everybody's building, but we will cover that later on. Again, back on the Khaimera shenanigans, taking out Mini Orb, and then Crunch gets caught with really bad positioning, as is. This Crunch does get greedy quite a bit of the time. But immediately after Crunch falling, I'm going to immediately make a move and chip back. Luckily enough, Morgesh is able to clean up, and I gain yet another fucking assist. Again, this does seem to be a case a lot of the time where Khaimera's damage really either lacks
He either lacks damage or it requires a good bit of ramp up time. Again, I get another assist, and this is just rinse and repeat. This will happen quite a lot in this match. It is truly hilarious. Down goes Grooks. As it says, our Twin Blast is a deviant at this moment in time. We're immediately going to make our go for Fangtooth yet again. That's our third Fangtooth. You can't really complain. And then we proceed to max out our Basilisk. At this stage, it is what it is. We are caught in a one-sided fight, because it's currently 22-7. So it can lead. If you can get early ganks in, you can literally push a very, very, very strong mid to late game, so you can, because of the way that things work. Again, another assist. Another assist to add to it. Yeah, it was just assist central for me. Again, back on the Khaimera shenanigans. I do believe he can't solo or prime without either Draconium or Void Helmet, depending on which way you want to swing. But regardless, that is an orb prime, and we're ready to go. We really did snowball their Grooks, I'm not going to deny that. And yet again, another assist. This actually irked me to a point where I got really annoyed, because all I got was assists. I think I had the highest amount of assists. Now, don't get me wrong, is assists bad? No. But at the exact same time, I'm the jungler. I'm the one meant to be securing the damn kills. I'm the one that's meant to be ganking and feeding my team. So I technically did do that, but at the exact same time, I kind of want my kills. I'm sorry, but kill stats are the stats that make you smile, not the assist stats. As I say, this is why I can't do support, because no matter how many assists you get slagged off. I think I remember having a match, I had 30 plus assists, and I got told I was shit because I had 15 deaths. I had 30 assists, and I kept my carry alive. Yeah, it was a one-sided match, because I just assisted my way through the entire damn thing. It is what it is. But what I do want to take a look at here is the builds that everybody was running, because I want to see why my assists were so effective, but my damage did hurt quite a bit. Now, the thing is though, if we take a look at what everybody has built, look at Grooks, Serth, Faye immediately went to hard counter me, so she did. And then look at Sparrow, right? Sparrow, second item. I don't know why she's going an assassin setup, but that sure, why not? But particularly look at the main three. You've got Sparrow, who has natural lifesteal from her crest, and then you've got her second item, which is Psionic Echo, which I think gives you Omnivamp. So it's either Omni or lifesteal, can't remember, but it means that she has a great deal of sustain in lane, so she does. Faye did aim to particularly completely hard counter my ass, but it didn't really work well for her. Sereth went Sky Splitter first item, which means that she did have healing. She also went with the carry crest as well, which also meant that she got additional lifesteal. So, and then you've got Rampage, you've got Grooks, who has both Rapture and Sky Splitter online. This is what I mean by a lot of people tend to build into a heavy amount of sustain early, and then that means that they can actually push the game. But with me building anti-heal second item, in saying that there, Twin Blast built anti-heal third item, same as Morgesh, a third item, but because I built that early game anti-heal, nobody was able to out-sustain me. And that is a big thing that I want to bring up, because it is a major, major, major factor going into the following matches. Because you will find this to be a really strict trend where a lot of people early game do tend to build a lot of lifesteal. So that is just something I wanted to bring up. Now with that out of the way, let's go into match 3 and see what we can find. So this match I dubbed the wake up call, because their team is stacked to the teeth and it is just simply better than our team. But in saying that there, it does reveal quite a few glaring weaknesses in how Khaimera plays. And I can't wait to break this down, because this is where I get to have a lot of fun. So again, we stick with our ice core and start, so we do. It's as simple as that, so it is. We're going to get into the build and we're going to run through it, because there's a few key things that I do want to bring up in this scenario, so there is. As is, we're sticking with our auto attack setup, so we are, because I want to push this a little bit further and see what we can get out of it. But again though, this particular setup really doesn't need any introduction. So again, it's the same auto attack build, but there's only one difference, and this is Void Helmet for Draconium. And there is a reason to why this is the scenario. It is because they have a more dominant team magic wise than they do physical wise. Now, in saying that though, did White Helmet help me? Absolutely not, because there is a few key factors that I do want to dig into in a moment, and we will get into it throughout this build. But as says, it's the flexibility that Khaimera has to complete, because there's 2 healing items within the game. There is that lovely flexibility between them depending on what you need. Do you need more health and healing, or do you need Draconium for your regen? So, and there's how you sort of bring it about. So you do, and it's that sort of way of looking at it and playing with it. Now immediately, obviously I've started off with a normal jungling method, but I went for a more aggressive setup. Rampage has already taken out Sevarog, which is unfortunately exceptionally disappointing, but now that I know that Rampage is over in the far side, I can continue my aggressive jungling into Rampage's jungle. I'm nearly sure this hacks him off by the end of this here, because he does pop off at one stage, so he does. So as says, fair warning, this is the wake up call video, so this demonstrates quite a bit. Now I immediately aim to gank, so I do. Immediately get in and gank, so I do. And unfortunately, Tar manages to land a final shot and I get tagged by it. Now this probably gives Skylar a good boost in damage and cash as well. And yes, trying to deal with a Rampage as beefy as he is quite difficult. Plus their Balika is on point. So she is. I would have escaped this here if and only if their Skylar was not on point. They have 2 exceptionally difficult players that I am against right now. After coming back, I immediately move into dual lane to try and get some form of damage on somebody. Morgesh takes out Narbash, and immediately I jump on the Fangtooth shenanigans. Problem is though, Rampage is immediately on my tail, so he is. Rampage, Narbash immediately went in for the rotation, so he did, and made my life difficult. Now, my big problem is here is Morgesh neglected to come over. Luckily enough, we did manage to secure the Fangtooth. Is this going to help? Not really, because there's a lot of things that went wrong in this match, and it was just simply that. So there was a lot of things that really just did not go to plan. Their Rampage was by far a substantially better player. Their Skylar, their Balika, their Quang, basically as an overall skill gap, this match basically demonstrated it on us. So it did, because no matter what I tried to do, I could never really push past my point of being able to do something. Again, their Rampage is an absolute deviant, and because of certain reasons, which we'll get into later on, it makes him exceptionally hard to deal with at times. Their Skylar is proving to be more of a nuisance. But regardless of that, their Balika is on rotation central. Balika ain't giving no shits. Their entire team is so on point. I thought I was actually fighting a 5-stack, so it did. Because every time I tried to do something, I got 2v1 or 3v1. And that is exactly how you deal with a Khaimera. That is point for point how you beat a Khaimera. I was hard countered at every stage. They were grouped up at every stage. Our team simply could not keep up with their teamwork, so they couldn't. And on top of all that, there was a lot of complaining and bitching going on within this match. But look, at the end of the day, that it simply is what it is. No, their team was just simply better. And remember, I brought up about whiffing the ult. Yes, you can very easily whiff the ult. And again, back to the grouping up stage is the fact that they are exceptionally tight on the group up stage. So they have no issues being able to group up so easily. Even with Sevarog being a tank, it doesn't matter. Sevarog's still getting hounded, and our Sparrow just doesn't have the DPS. Realistically there, I should have just got the fuck out, but I don't know why. I think I was just genuinely just trying to play the scapegoat and trying to sort of get everybody else back into rhythm. but unfortunately that didn't go to plan whatsoever. Our team does have a high level of aggression, but the big problem is we do not have the skill level. It's not even so much that is the skill level the right way of describing this. I'm not sure, but long story short, their Balaka proved to be very devastating. After securing that kill, I was immediately right, we should really get out because Sparrow's getting hounded. Again, our group up, the way that they group up is they are picking off the weakest person first. Now, of course, my own greed gets the better of me. I go in on Narbash, but of course, I just get literally wombo comboed into oblivion. Look, fair play to the two of them. They managed to murk us. This is our first surrender attempt because obviously our team is getting absolutely rammed. We can't come up with a counter. Well, more accurately, our team just can't counter their team for the meantime, and that there is becoming very problematic. It's problematic in a way that it really does show. Now, again, I don't know if it was the 2-level difference or it was the fact that it was a Quang. I'm not 100% sure, but their Quang hit me like a freight train, and I did have some magic defense equipped, but it did not make a difference. And this is a key thing that I'm going to... You can see me checking to why I got demolished. I will explain this at the end. There is a very good reason to why I got demolished the way that I did. And why Quang is such a monster. As says, even whenever it comes to taking down a Balaka, it takes 2 of us to put down a Balaka. So that means how many of us is it going to take to put down a Rampage? This is the kind of problem that we're having here, is the fact that their team is overall exceptionally tanky, but I don't know what it is, but our team was just missing something that was actually needed in this scenario. And down goes Sevrog as well. Their Quang is a beast. Their Skylar is a beast. Their Rampage, Balaka are all beastly. But this is what I mean by, I always feel like Sky Splitter isn't giving me the damage that I wanted to give me, if that makes sense. Which is really bad to say because it keeps the Sky Splitter gets nerfed all the time for good reason. Don't know why I jumped back in. I knew I was going to die. I think it was just a sacrifice at that point. This is now the second time that we are looking to surrender, and this one succeeds. So it does. So of course, let's just do the fun thing and just get to the building process of it, because I want to see how and why this match went as sideways as it did, because I've got genuine questions now. Why was it that we got absolutely crammed the way that we did? Now, let's take a look at it, right? Now, immediately, Balaka's going into Tainted Rounds. Sky Splitter, Plasma Blade into Prophecy. So she's not even doing ability damage, she's going pure basic attack damage. I don't know how I feel about that there, because if you look at their Narbash, he went full support and made sure that he was tanky and sustained. Their team just seemed to play better because immediately Balaka went into Prophecy, which is going to have more benefit than going into Tainted Rounds, and then Spectra. And then Rampage obviously went the Giga Health build, immediately building into Anti-Heal, second item. Dude was just being a beefcake. The main one that I do want to bring up is Quang, considering he's got 2 amps within his build, as well as Prophecy. This is the exact reason to why he was able to demolish me the way that he was, and then that was why he was able to demolish everybody else. So it was, Quang was a beast, and a beast for a reason. Now with knowing that there, the main thing that I did want to bring up, what did we find out Khaimera's main weakness is? It is going to be magical damage. Unfortunately, even with Void Helmet online, the magical damage still posed to be a problem. Now, how do we counteract this? The best thing I can do is leave it for the meantime and cover that at the end whenever I have a little bit more to show you, if that makes sense. So, that's match 3. That's our wake-up call. Let's go into match 4, shall we? So, on to match 4, and we're going to be doing some build testing. Now, in saying that though, the build testing gets a little bit gritty, so it does. But yeah, this is a match, they've got a Diamond Kalari, so they do, which is going to be interesting. So it is their Kiara, Narbash, Iggy, and Shimby, whereas we've got a Quang, Howitzer,
I can't remember who our carry and support was, but we'll find out soon enough, so we will. We're going to go with the tank, or the Titan Crest, simply due to the factor of it gives us access to Zephyr's Mantle. Oh wow, we've got Revenant and Steel. That's what we have. But yes, let's get into what the actual, as says, this is build testing. So, as says, the previous build that we used was the auto attack build, and we got a pretty rough wake up call on that one. So that was a bit rough, but it does mean that the auto attack probably doesn't feed as well into it as expected, and you can see that I'm getting rather experimental with my build here. As says, we are going with the Zephyr's Mantle setup because I like my tankiness, and it definitely gives you early game tankiness. Now the thing is though, is early game Khaimera seems to lack damage, which is quite disappointing in my opinion. So I was looking for ways to subsidize that there, that being obviously Malady. Malady is a good item when paired up right, but other than that there, the rest of it's self-explanatory in this scenario. We're going high health, high tank build, so we are. But the reason why we went Malady first item was simply due to the fact that it gives us additional clear, not just that there, it also gives us an ability of stacking, or a level of stacking damage as we proceed. Immediately you're going to see that I'm starting off with aggressive jungling and then moving straight into trying to secure kills. This is simply a Khaimera thing to do, so it is. So unfortunately Revenant does get taken out. I take out the Narbash and repeat, but then the Kara, I think it was a combination of the Kara and the Tar, managed to do a great deal of damage to me and put me down. As it says, we're back onto the farming shenanigans because this is exactly what we need to do. Quang is in trouble with the Shinbi, and I will still say that Shinbi is still one of the most prevalently annoying junglers and or offlaners because she does have a double escape, which makes her incredibly hard to hunt, especially being Khaimera. As it says, we went and done a bit more farming, and immediately Shinbi's on the runaway again. This is how nasty Shinbi can be. You need to really lock her down in place, so you do. We have Malady online. This basically gives us our infinite stacking capability at this stage, so it does, so can't really complain much to it. We're on the Khaimera shenanigans, but of course Howitzer gets caught, so I'm going to go in and try to assist the Howitzer, but again, dealing with Kalari and Kiara, and an Iggy and Scorch can get rather rough, and hopefully I managed to escape, not so much hopefully. Moving on past that there, not much else to really be said, but we're moving into mid lane. Again, we're still suffering from this thing called damage, which is really bloody annoying because I'm not able to secure kills. Unfortunately, Quang did go down there as well, which is a bit disappointing. I'm stalking right lane simply off the basis of needing to secure, but again, more assists. I'm trying my best to stalk right lane because their Kiara is proving to be a rather pain in the ass. Same as their Iggy and Scorch. But the thing is though, is with Khaimera and the Howitzer, Iggy really doesn't stand much of a chance. But you can I'm starting to feel the fact that this Malady might not be the right starting item either, because the damage just simply isn't there for prolonged fights. Unfortunately, our Revenant gets caught, but then I return with... that's right, actually, I just completely forgot that Kiara actually TP'd out of that, and then because of that there, I got deleted for it. Fair play to the Kiara is proven to be problematic as per normal at this stage, but hopefully Howitzer's able to hopefully try and clean up. Nope, and yes, you can immediately see that we are in rough territory, so we are. And there's the surrender looking to go through, but again, I am way too persistent and way too aggressive for the best of times. Luckily enough, I did manage to get my Zephyr's Mantle proc. The reason why I like Zephyr's Mantle, I says, I'll probably keep this till later on, but regardless that there, Zephyr's does its job, and I'm on the hunt. Revenant picks up the Kalari, which is again, seems to be a running theme for me at the moment, so it does. Again, Scorch is proving to be rather annoying, so he is, but again, Revenant's able to pick up the Narbash, cleaning things up. We're immediately going to build into Basilisk because that's what we've got left. And again, I'm back on stalking right, simply due to the fact that this Kiara is proving dangerous. But at the exact same time though, I'm proving just, if not a little bit more dangerous. It still doesn't help whenever there's so many people in right. It really doesn't help, so it doesn't. That really does not help this scenario, so it doesn't. This Kiara is basically on demon time at the minute because she is refusing to go down in any way, shape or form. But Yeah, fighting a Khaimera is still going to be a bad, no matter what way you want to swing it, fighting a Khaimera once he's getting going is not a good option, so it isn't. Against Gorge is playing a bit ballsy, but then I'm a little bit ignorant, so I'm going to do Khaimera things. Tar dive like a boss. As it says, at this stage I've got enough health built with Basilisk that it basically will not slow me down. Kalari comes in, and yeah, unfortunately Kalari gets wombo comboed as well. Zephyr's Mantle does work with Khaimera because of the initial defense that it gives you, as well as the infinite stacking health. Basically, you're basically well just to keep tearing. Now, unfortunately though, Kiara is still a problem no matter which way you want to swing it. So he is, or so she is. The player is just a problem. The Revenant, however, is starting to pick up speed because once Revenant picks up speed, I'm sorry, like, I know Kiara is devastating, but once Revenant picks up speed, the danger levels are there. We're trying to hunt down this Kalari. Again, with Kalari, Kalari isn't the best jungler at the minute. It is mostly, as I think it's Gunko says, is it's either boom or bust. So it is, and unfortunately it can be bust more than boom. Now immediately you can see that we're in for complete shenanigans here now, so we are, but with me having defense built now, as well as a little bit with Basilisk and Malady, I do now have fighting strength. But again, it still isn't going to help me in the scenario that I don't have Draconian built, so I am going to get cut down quite quickly. It is disappointing, but it simply is what it is. But I'm going to persist on being the most ignorant son of a bitch and persisting in my fighting. Now, at this stage, I realised where one of my major mistakes was, and that was not picking up Tainted Blade. This was a major mistake on my behalf. This is something that does get rectified, as says, once we get through all of this, you'll see that I rectify this little mistake of mine quite quickly. I dived in to buy a bit of time, so I did, just to try and ensure that something, if anything, could happen. Now, somehow they managed to keep the defense online, which was pretty damn good, and I managed to snipe a Shimby, because at this stage, I'm on full bloodthirst. So I am. That's right, they got Prime Fang, which doesn't really help. They've actually passed the Prime Fang stage. Now, luckily enough, Revenant managed to pick up the Kiara, which made life a little bit easier, but again, Kalari is incredibly hard to keep down. Unless you're Revenant, because Revenant's just locking and loading at this stage, taking on all comers. Thank God, because we were having it rough there for a while. You can even see by the kills at the top, we were having it rough. We're trying to make a Prime Orb play, but of course this is turning into a Prime Orb fight, which we really do not want to be tangoing in. But immediately I'm going to go full greed mode. I'm Khaimera. I'm not meant to be backing off. I'm meant to be diving head first in. It's simply off the basis of that, so it is. But we're looking for an opportunity. We're more or less waiting for them to go for it. Our Steel dives in like a psycho, and fair play to him. He gets some shenanigans going, and I'm immediately going to go for the Shimby, back off, because Kiara has decided to come for me, hit the multi-stun, and then it's just stun after stun after stun. Everybody is getting stunned, so they are. Luckily enough though, I've actually managed, I think I got saved 2 or 3 times in that entire engagement, and now that has finally opened up a possibility of us going for our Orb Prime. Now, in saying that there, at this stage I do have both Void Helmet and Draconian built. This basically means that in a straight up fight I am fucking immortal, depending on which way you want to swing it. In saying that though, I've gotten more assists than actual damage this game, which is so sad. But again, it's build testing. I want to see if there's any way of me being able to push this past. Finally managed to secure Orb Prime, and Kalari makes the mistake of trying to engage me. And now, oh yes, and now I finally get built. I finally get my tainted item built, because simply off of the basis of, trust me, tainted items work for good reason. They're there for good reason. But I have now come to the conclusion that, goddamn, that is borderline mandatory at this moment in time because of the way that things are. Unfortunately, Kiara's ult leaves her wide open and leaves her free for us to pick clean. So, makes life very easy. But we have Orb Prime. One of their inhibitors are about to go. It's a full team wipe. You sort of see where this is going. Likely odds is it's either going to end in surrender, which it might, or it's going to end in a core take. Regardless, it is what it is. Was the match good? It was a fun match, not gonna lie. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely not, because I got absolutely mollywopped consistently. So I did. Unfortunately, it's one of those scenarios with Khaimera. Normally he is good, but I never recommend the recommended build for good reason. But then at the exact same time, make sure you have the right information whenever you are doing building. Because Melody does work, but unfortunately it takes a little bit too long to ramp up. Good if games go on a little bit longer. Now, on the other hand though, what we get to see now is the shenanigans that tied in with it. So again, I finished 8 to 7. Obviously this is an experimental build because I need to see what they're building. So immediately Revenant went into Vanquisher, which immediately helps him out. He also built into Solaris, which is a very dangerous combo. Steel went full Giga Tank, so he did, ensuring that he was going to be able to deal with anything that came his way. Howitzer built into Soulbinder, which more or less meant that he was going to be hitting hard regardless. And Quang went a mix of items, so he did, between auto attack and physical, which is odd to me. Now, if we compare that against what the Shinbi and their Kalori and basically their team is running, you have the Shinbi that has the Orb of Growth online, as well as a lot of lifesteal and anti-heal, which means that realistically I really should have been building Tainted Blade a lot earlier, so I should have been Kalori doing the standard thing. Now, again, I don't know why Vank is there. She did finally build into Tainted Trident, but it was a little bit too late. Too little, too late. Taking that into account, I'm not sure why Iggy was going with a basic attack item, which is a bit odd in my opinion. Other than that, there you have Narbash, who did build into Void Helmet, which isn't a bad idea with Narbash. And of Oblivion Crown. Why am I only seeing this now? Holy crap, I don't pay attention a lot, do I? But again, their main hard carry outright was their Kiara, and she was the first one to build anti-heal third item. This is why she was so difficult for me to get in on. So, because she was able to build anti-heal third item, she was able to actually be able to chunk me quite easily, so she did. I'm also looking there too. Oh no, she didn't overcap her crit. I was wondering there for a second. But no, that there, as says, it does demonstrate that if you know what you're doing, anti-heal kind of really needs to be built early. On to match 5. A Good Omen. That's what I've titled it, because whenever you see this match you'll understand what I mean, because you've already seen what happened at the very start of the match. So, they've got a Twin Blast, Ziggs, another Khaimera, Grooks and Morigesh versus a Wraith, me, Aurora, FaZe and Sparrow. The God combo, as people would like to say it, because once you combine them two with their ults, that shit gets nutty real fucking quick. I'm not going to deny that. But on the other hand though, again, with the success of the Titan's crest, I'm going to continue working with it. It gives us health and defense. It's self-explanatory, especially early game, where this is probably why the damage doesn't feel as good as it should, but the benefit outweighs the cons in my opinion. Now, why is this video called, or why is this match called The Good Omen? It's more or less just simply down to a factor of one item. So it is. That item being the Omen start. Now, again, Zephyr's Mantle as normal. We're going to be building Omen, Tainted Blade, Basilisk, and Draconium. Now, again, you will find going from here forward, and it's simply due to this match. This is the... how would you put it? This is the pinnacle match of what comes next. We're on match 5. You're about to see 5 more matches. And this is where I find Khaimera to start to really come into his own. And it's funny because I think it was ages ago that I had brought up that Omen was a good item on Khaimera, but never as a good starting item. And now we have it, because I'll explain it later. But we're going to go with Omen, Tainted Blade, Basilisk, and Draconium. This makes it quite simple on what we're going to be doing. Basically, we're going to be tearing through. Fun fact though, we do learn a little bit of information in this here, because as you can see I am aggressively jungling, right? This is a standard Khaimera feat, so it is, where you go into the enemy's jungle and start clearing. But here's where the fun part comes in. Their Khaimera's clearing faster than I am. How's that? I don't know. Actually I do, it's because he went with the Warrior's Crest. It's quite self-explanatory. He went with the Warrior Crest start, and I went with the Titan's Crest. So there is quite clearly a difference in farming speed in this scenario, so there is, simply due to the fact of that.
Morgesh then comes in and starts trying to mollywop me, but then Aurora comes to back me up, which is absolutely fantastic. And then Wraith follows up again with the backup from there, but Grooks has now appeared and Khaimera is still here. Morgesh gets taken out. I'm dashing out, so I am, because again, I really do not want to be dying. Wraith then picks up the Grooks, and now we're all happy. Now, if I am also correct, Aurora also takes out Khaimera as well. So that was a solid trade, and I didn't die, luckily enough for that. So it was, but this is, I think, the moment where the snowbally crap really takes place. So it is, because we've now got momentum online, which does give us more damage, and now we're going to demonstrate said damage. So we are. Unfortunately, Grooks has gotten nipped, so he has, because Grooks got a little bit too aggressive, and now I'm just going to bully him. Yeah, that's more or less standard enough. As it says, he got very close to taking her out. And then, of course, in standard Khaimera fashion, we're just going to dive straight on to everybody and anybody that is in our way. Now, again, in saying that there, they may still secure the Fangtooth, but it doesn't matter, because we're going to completely and utterly red up the rest of them. They're Khaimera, Morgesh, everybody that was there for a hot second. They may have secured Fangtooth, but they lost, I believe, 3 people in the process of doing that, which in my opinion is not exactly a fair trade, due to the fact that, well, we get more gold in that scenario where they don't. Immediately backing out, this is where we start into our Omen start. Now, the reason why I will explain the reason to why the Omen start is such a thing. So it is, but as it says, you'll probably be able to see it as we go on through this video, because Omen is actually a surprisingly powerful item. Now, immediately we secure the Grooks, and Khaimera is all of a sudden very scared to fight me, because of, I don't actually know, but I think as a fun fact, I do actually believe he's going the recommended build. Now with Omen online, I am now just going to continue my carving, because every time Omen procs, it legitimately just knocks 2 seconds off of my ambush, and because of its inherent cooldown as well, it just means that I've got a lot of extra CDR that just keeps allowing me to leap and keep on leaping. Long story short, there's very little that anybody's going to be able to do against me. Funnily enough, Aurora managed to actually time that to perfection to secure the Morgesh, and then I do also believe manages to get out as well. Very impressive. As is, surprised that Morgesh managed to escape me, but if you have your TP online, it is what it is. So it is. Now again, with the aggressive start and their Khaimera actually being scared of me, now I'm playing into the aggressive side, so I'm moving in, I'm moving through. Khaimera shenanigans. It's a Khaimera thing, it's simply that. Again, I still, no matter what, rely on Sephir's Mantle, because it does give you a level of beefiness that is not normally possible. Because of it gives you both defenses, even though it's a small amount of defenses, but it's the sheer amount of health that you can genuinely obtain by the end of the game becomes nuts. Khaimera finally gets his revenge on Aurora, and Morgesh comes at me. Okay, let's party, Morgesh. You want to fight? I'm more than happy to tango with you at this stage. So I am. Down goes Morgesh, and Zinx runs away. I was actually going to hind this Zinx, but unfortunately she did actually just dip out. Once she popped her ult, not much point in really going after her at that stage. Again, we're moving in, so we are. I'm just doing Khaimera things. I'm aiming for any kills. I think I did not realise that in this fight, genuinely didn't realise this, their Khaimera has Orb Prime. Didn't register in my brain whenever I was fighting him. Honestly, genuinely did not register in my brain. I don't know why it didn't register. It just didn't. Back on Khaimera shenanigans at that stage. So again, we're looking for hunting, and Morgesh seems like the perfect target to rip and tear through. As says, I do genuinely think that Khaimera is just the Doom guy of Predecessor. It's rip and tear your way through everything. So it is. So as it sits, I'm currently sitting 9-0 and 5 assists. Khaimera thinks that he can take me on, but he really needs to learn his place, because no harm, I'm going to rip and tear through him. I've got Tainted Blade online. He ain't healing for shit. So he ain't. Their Grooks ain't healing, their Khaimera ain't healing, their Zinks ain't healing, their Morgish ain't healing, and their Twin Blast is not healing. This is the big thing that I have to bring up, is the fact that with the amount of healing that there is within the game, trust me, it plays a bigger part than a lot of people tend to think about. So it does, because even the Archer's Crest has lifesteal as well. So if you make all of that entirely redundant, there's very little to nothing that they're able to do. I am just going to rip and tear through their entire team, so I am at this stage. And then, just to add insult to injury, me and this Khaimera is going to have a wee 1v1. I've got a 3-level advantage on him, and a good bit of damage on him as well. Now, fun fact, Khaimera's ultimate automatically stacks 6 times whenever you use Khaimera's ult with Draconium. So, that and Basilisk stacks really damn quickly, so it does, making Khaimera exceptionally dangerous. I do remember somebody explaining this to me in one of my old Khaimera videos, where Basilisk gets instant stacked from it. Ends in a surrender, self-explanatory. I went off on a rip and tear in that video. There was little to nothing that they could really do to stop me in that scenario, so there was, and even at that there, and even in today's patch, it really still doesn't happen much. There's not really much that can stop a Khaimera. That was 12-0, so it was, as it says, Aurora went full defense. She is the offlaner. Wraith went standard Wraith shenanigans. Our Sparrow done the exact same thing. She is running an assassin setup with Sparrow. That to me is interesting, because I don't think it works quite well, so it doesn't. And then obviously the standard phase setup. I don't know how to run phase because I'm not a phase user. Now, the key mistake that they made again was the fact that not one of them had run anti-heal second item like myself. Their Twin Blast immediately has natural healing from his crest, but was building into Resolution Lightning Hawk, which is all fair. But then he builds into Tainted Blade or Tainted Rounds, third item. Ain't gonna stop me if I'm snowballing. Quite simple, really. Their Zinks did go for damage as well. She was building into some form of, I don't know, was that Tainted Blade she was building into? Must be. She must have been trying to build into Tainted Blade. Morgish unfortunately went lifesteal as well. So she did, she went lifesteal. Khaimera has natural lifesteal, he went Draconium and Berserker's Axe. So he did the Berserker's Axe mostly just because it's recommended, but he did build into Draconium. And then if you look at the Grooks, he has 2 lifesteal items first. So he does. And then you have the lifesteal from the Warrior's Crests as well. So long story short, I basically just shut down their entire team in terms of healing by second item, which more or less left them with nothing that they could do against me. I'm healing fine, but you ain't doing jack shit. And this is where it starts to develop. This is where I start to develop an importance on Tainted Blade and Omen as a start. This is where see the snowball that this starts becomes ridiculous. Wait and see. So because the Omen build performed so well, we're basically just going to go Omen again. They've got a Sevarog, a Boris, which Khaimera does struggle with, a Wraith, Diamond, might I add, Morgish, Richter, and Bellica. Whereas we have a Norbash, Murdoch, Morgish for ourselves, as well as, I can't remember, fuck. And then, oh yeah, we've got a Murdoch offlane. Oh yes, the standard carry offlane. And you already know what I'm building into. We're going straight in to our immediate Omen build again. So we are our Omen start, because that gave us a serious good result the last time. So our previous one and with our new one, we're going to build the Aegis. Can't remember the full name of it, so I can't. But basically this gives us damage based on our health with Sephir's Mantle. This is going to build even better. We're not building Overlord because we don't need the clear per se. And then on top of that there, it boosts both of our defenses to a good margin. Basically giving us an extra layer of tankiness, as well as an extra, sorry I do apologize, an extra layer of offense with the health. The health being turned into damage per se, because this is where the build can somewhat snowball, because this item is actually particularly strong on Khaimera because of the high health gauge that he does end up developing. Immediately, again, we're going to start off with the aggressive jungling, but of course Bellica and Richter tend to be rather irritating at times. But I'm going to try and push to be annoying because, well, if I can give them something, I'll give them what I can.
Unfortunately though, their Balaka being as slippery as always. Oh sorry, correction, it's a Drongo offlane. I do apologise, I thought it was a Drongo carry. But of course, Boris is immediately on my ass as per normal. Wraith picks up Morgesh. I'm going to catch the Boris in the jungle, but unfortunately, I get caught by the Wraith. This Wraith is beyond dangerous at times, so he is. Wraith is just one of those characters that I really do not like fighting against because of how snowbally he can be. Big thing that I do have to point out though is the fact that their Boris and their Wraith are in a team together. They are in comms, so they are, because if you go back to the start of this match specifically, they are basically teamed up with each other, so they are. Unfortunately, Wraith's little teleport did get me killed. Unfortunately, it is what it is. This is a slightly tougher match than the previous one that we had. That's quite evident. So it is. But unfortunately, Wraith is going to think that he's going to get away from me, but I have my ult now. There's not really much that's going to stop me. So there isn't. I am on full greed, and Murdoch steals my kill. How lovely. Yeah, like this is where I got really roughed up. So I did, like, I'm alright. I'm in this match 10 minutes and I'm 3 deaths, 1 assist. It's just not where I like to be right now. Correction. 1 kill, 3 deaths. You know what I mean? It's one of those little rhythms that you have to work with, so it is. As it says, luckily enough, Khaimera can somewhat hard counter Richter because of his natural healing. But unfortunately, again, my greed gets the better of me. This is a big thing with Khaimera. Guys, anybody who's playing Khaimera, learn to control your greed. And immediately, with greed, yeah, Wraith just pops out of nowhere and just takes me out. But it is what it is. But immediately at this stage, I'm really itching for a bit of revenge. You want to do this to me, you're going to try and ult me, and you're going to get fucking denied. Yeah. It's one of them things, so it is. So I move over. This is the first time me over actually in solo lane because unfortunately getting tortured is a bit of a problem. Boris cleans up Drongo because the Drongo in this match does get rather greedy. Even though it's a double carry setup, still manages to get rather greedy and no harm. But Boris is actually able to deal with Khaimera exceptionally well. Boris is exceptionally dangerous, so he is for a Khaimera. Now, people like to bash on Boris saying that he's Khaimera Junior. Nah, it's not 100% accurate. In the right hands, Boris is actually more dangerous than Khaimera is, in my experience. Unfortunately, Balaka really messed up her jump. In saying that there, I've done the same. I'm not going to deny that. Everybody scuffed a jump now and then. As says, there's no Boris around, so we're going to secure our own Fangtooth, so we are. And try and move into the rest of the slaughter. Again, with me having a CC cleanse, makes life a lot easier. Of course, I'm just going to get fucking dived, so I am. Because Boris is thinking that he can take on 3 people at once, and apparently Boris didn't get the memo that taking on 3 people at once is a death sentence unless you are a goat. Boris is at it again with the Sevarog, and unfortunately he does manage to steal and then immediately lose it. Disappointing. But then I says, whenever you got a Drongo and a Khaimera on you, it's not really going to help much. Big issue that I have right now is the fact that, well, Sevarog knocked me back, but then Morgesh managed to clean up. Wraith is now pushed out. So his Richter did come to assist, but no dice. Now, immediately Richter's over in solo lane, so I'm going to make myself known and start being a nuisance. Same as Narbash being a colossal pain in the ass. And immediately, everybody just groups up on the Sevarog. Sevarog can get to nutty levels of tankiness as well. And we're going to make a play for Orb Prime. But as far as I'm aware, this actually, I can't even remember if this actually goes well or not. But as far as I know, Wraith is just trying, oh no, Wraith's just clearing sways. No, it's just a simple Orb Prime. That's handy enough. Once securing Orb Prime, it's basically, we're basically grand at this stage. Unfortunately though, it turns into a cluster cluck of a fight, so it does. I do have Orb Prime. I've got Basilisk, but I don't have my Draconium online yet, meaning that I am still not per se squishy, but not as nice. As it says, Richter does manage to show his face and then get deleted. I go after the Balaka because, well, greed. But then Wraith appears and I'm just like, no, I'm going to opt out of that because Wraith is built now, so all it'll take is a few shots and I'm basically a goner. With Boars out of commission, we're more or less able to take Fangtooth without much trouble per se. Instead of that, we still have Ward Prime. I'm immediately going to make my go for dual lane or off lane again. Big problem though, I whiffed my ult, which completely buckled a lot of things. In that scenario though, we get a trade. It's me and Severog. Murdoch's here too. Murdoch's more or less hard carried this setup, so he did. And unfortunately, I had exactly enough time and Murdoch stole my kill. A kill's a kill. I don't care if it's stolen or not, but still, sometimes it just it hurts sometimes. So it does hurt whenever you do put in a good bit of effort and then all that effort gets taken by somebody else. All the credit gets taken by somebody else. Wraith is aiming to hit with pop shots. And Richter with the fucking solid hook too. Can't complain about that. But again, Wraith being the big problem. Wraith is no matter what going to be a problem. Not whenever you're me and Morgus though. I done most of the damage and then Morgus steals the kill again. It's pretty fucking standard at this stage. But at the same time though, my main goal right now is just trying to pull positive. So it is. So we're 7 and 6 and 11 now. I can agree to this. As long as I'm remaining positive, I can agree to this. So I can. At this stage, we're more or less in the end game. We're trying to push for games, so we are. Murdoch now is built. And now Murdoch is just now on completely clean-up mode, so he is. There's not really much that's going to stop him. Especially with Orb Prime. So Murdoch's more or less our go-to. Again, Fangtooth again, so that means we've got both Orb and Fang. There is genuinely little to nothing that can stop us, but the Murdoch more or less turns into straight up hard carry territory and is just aiming to clean house. Balaka runs into me for some reason and I'm taking on Balaka, Severog and Richter at one point and I'm like, why is this a thing? Why am I fighting so many people by myself? Where is everybody? Why is this? And then, yeah, Wraith picks me up. That's pretty much self-explanatory at that stage, but I didn't realize why so many people were like, where was everybody? Mistakes were made. Quite simple. As it says, we had a rough start. I have 12 assists. Like the match ended with what, 8 kills, 7 deaths, and 12 assists. How many of those kills were actually robbed from me? So I'm making up excuses, guys. You have to at least give me something to work with here. So you do. It's just one of them things. Give me something to work with. But what I'm really curious about now is where does the build like I want to go through this here because again this match ended slightly rougher than the previous match. Again, still gives us a good bit of leaning time, but I'm curious now because now that I've rewatched this here, it's one of those things. So again, I'm building as normal as possible. Carries are building normally. Wraith's building normally. Boris went double lifesteal and then went draconium late, so he did. Balka's going crit, so that explains a lot. Richter went tank. Yeah, that kind of explains a lot. I'm not gonna deny. You'll not be surprised to see again. It's another match with an open start, so it is Grooks versus Grooks in the off lane, me versus Crunch, Gideon versus Gadget, and then we have a Paragon Dacker with a Wraith versus a Morn and Twin Blast. Again, at this stage, guys, you've probably already gotten the idea at this stage of what kind of build that we're going to be running. The reason why I'm doing so many is so I have a good run of selection, if that makes sense. I've got enough information to work with, and that is why I'm doing this here. So it is, again, a standard Omen build. It's the same run of the mill as is. We've seen this enough times now to know exactly what build we're going to be running. And it's quite simple. It's just simply to the fact, if it works, don't fix what ain't broken, guys. Taking that all into account, let's get back to the match. Immediately, Crunch takes out Grooks first thing, so he does, because getting an early gank can really sway an entire match. And because Crunch is over at the other side of the map, I'm going to do some aggressive jungling. Luckily enough, Decker and Wraith take out the Morn. So this turns into an even trade early game, so it does. I'm not going to complain about this here. And this means that I can get some aggressive jungling done because I know Crunch is at the far side. I'm nearly expecting Crunch to do some aggressive jungling after a secure like that. I'm just looking to limit Crunch's gains as much as possible. Because again, if Crunch gets stacked, I'm in trouble. Crunch is one of those unique ones. Again, I was moving over to help our mid laner, but in that scenario, Crunch and Gadget separate ways. But again, Gadget's just a little bit too close for comfort. So I'm going to take out Gadget while I chase Crunch out of his own jungle. I am actually going to just be like a little bit nosy and backtrack and see if I can scare him off again. He's a little bit scared, so he is, because until Crunch hits level 6, he's free pickings. Again, this is a really bad matchup because I got caught between a rock and a hard spot. Crunch is here and I'm also getting banged at by the blue. So this is more or less a guaranteed death in this scenario. And then unfortunately Grooks went down as well. Fair play to the Crunch for being aggressive, but it's going to backfire horribly on him later on, because at this stage, now you've just annoyed me. And whenever I get annoyed, it turns into a lot of fun for me, because I'm going to rip and tear as much as I can. Again, with pure greed on my side, I am going to do. But then, as says, with Gideon being Gideon, I just realised that they all escaped that. Well, Twin Blast didn't, and nor did Gadget. As says, double secure there. As says, Morns should be shut down now as well. Yep, quick and easy. That was actually a better cleanup than expected, so it was. And at this stage, it's more or less, right, let's secure ourselves a Fangtooth. As says, Khaimera shenanigans, even with an aggressive start being Omen, Khaimera still has the ability of taking out Fangtooth. No matter what item he starts with, he can take out Fangtooth at the start. It just depends on how quickly you want it to be dealt with in that sense, because it is what it is at that stage. And then thank you Twin Blast for assisting, because I don't even know what possessed him to do that. Again, Crunch is over in duo lane. I think Morn was just taken out, so I'm just going to be the standard nuisance and start dealing with it. Unfortunately, Crunch's uppercut can really stagger. It's not so much Crunch's uppercut can really stagger Khaimera, and it does allow Crunch to get a good bit of damage in when done right. But unfortunately, with things the way that they are right now, Crunch is going to struggle. Again, building into anti-heal again. All this is information that you're already going to know in terms of building. Again, it's going to turn into a scrap session, so it is. And I'm going to get tripled on actually. Morn's here too. It was only a matter of time. Again, no matter who you are, 3v1, it's not going to work well for you. So it isn't. I'm going to just go straight in on the Grooks. Now, statistically speaking, this should be a fight. Actually, never mind. I just realised that the second Grooks is there. So yeah, unfortunately for this Grooks, yeah, he's donezied. So he is. The enemy team did secure, but doesn't matter too much for me, because again, what comes next is going to be rather monstrous. Again, Gideon with the... I just realised that double stun with the fucking Gideon ult is absolutely sheer diabolical. So it is. Twin Blast trying to aim at me. Don't try and pick at a Twin Blast. It's not going to work for you. Gadget's getting dicey on it, so she is. Again, with my durability, it's very hard for me to get hurt. So it is. Morn is doing Morn things. He is being sensible, but unfortunately, with the Dacker being on our team, very, very nice. Gideon manages to pick up the Morn too, which is just massive bonus points. Crunch is looking for a quick kill. Wraith manages to pick him off, and now Grooks is about to get very badly wounded. So he is that. Grooks was not getting out of that, no matter which way you wanted to swing it. It just simply wasn't happening, to be exact. Now we're going to move on to doing the standard things. We've dealt with their offlaner, we've dealt with their jungler. Let's go after Mini Prime. Unfortunately, Morn, for some unknown reason, has stretched his way the entire way over here. This is a problem, because if Morn gets it, then we're in issues. But at this stage, I've got knives ready to go, and then it turns into a triple threat. Twin Blast and Gadget have both arrived. I'm aiming straight for the Twin Blast because, I'm good at murking things, especially with Orb Prime. I've got Orb Prime and Basilisk. At this stage, I'm just going to swing for the heavens. So I am, and shockingly enough, thanks to the Gideon's additional help, I survive. Very nice. Back to the Khaimera shenanigans, going after Fangtooth. Now, unfortunately, getting Fangtooth is always a problem to me, so it is, because I always find that there always seems to be a level of shenanigans getting Fangtooth, because it purely depends on how well does your duo lane perform. So it does. Again, Grooks. Oh, the Grooks just gets absolutely mollywopped here. But the double stun, and then again, Dakar arrives just in time. Down goes Morn. This is just pure chaos in a nutshell. Down goes Grooks. Down goes Crunch. And then down goes their Grooks. This just turns into a absolutely nutty engagement. But I still have to say that this, you're seeing how Omen actually works with Khaimera, and it makes Khaimera so much more dangerous than people really give Omen as an item credit for. Omen is unusually strong for a jungle item, so it is. As I said, I will cover this in a lot more detail later on, because this gets nutty real quick. We're now starting to build into our Draconium, because again, we've got our damage online. Now we just need to get our sustain online to really give us a solid boost. In saying that though, with the combination of Zephyr's Mantle, makes life a lot easier. Notice that Grooks is TPing, so I'm just going to straight up follow suit. It is not often I use teleporters, but when it's needed, it's needed. As says, Wraith can still get the job done, with a little bit of assistance, might I add. And this is the creme de la creme for me, because this actually demonstrates how actually powerful and nasty Khaimera actually is. Because if you watch what goes on here, this is nutty, right? We have Morn in the area, so we do. We have Crunch, and then, oh no, that's not this one. Oopsies. But yeah, this one turns very nasty because Crunch gets put down, so he does. Then our Wraith gets dealt with, and then basically it's tit for tat, swap for swap. I'm going to take down their Twin Blast, and I think I'm actually going to have to back off. So I am, because we're getting a little bit too dicey here, so we are. Grooks is here to give me a bit of assistance with the Morn, which is absolutely fantastic. It's right now it happens. So basically, I think it was not too long after, right? But I've got Grooks Gadget on me, so I do, right? And then, as far as I know, Crunch comes in, right? So I'm taking on Fangtooth, Primal Fang, Grooks, and Gadget all at once, right? And then, as a result of this here, I pop Zephyr's Mantle. Crunch has now appeared, so he has. So I'm going to proceed to take out the Grooks. So I am, while in the process of getting absolutely mollywopped. Sheer, undeniable unkillableness. Now, unfortunately, I have match 7 over it, but she does say unkillable. Kai, lol. And yes, I was unkillable, and I reply with a lovely little smiley face. Now, bearing in mind, I only had Draconium active at that stage, and with Draconium alone, it demonstrates how tough I am. But what I really, really, really want to look at is I want to see their builds. Because if anybody had built anti-heal early enough, I should not have been able to do what was done there. So, time to find out what the result of this is. Because now I'm curious, right? So, Grooks, no anti-heal, but he did go full lifesteal at the start. Shockingly enough, Crunch did build into anti-heal second item. I'm actually quite impressed with that. Then he also built into Draconium and the thing that gives you a shield whenever you ult. It's not actually a bad idea. But if we take a look at the rest of them, oh you bitch. I'm keeping that in because it was funny. But anyway, back at it, right? So automatically we can see that their Twin Blast didn't build any anti-heal, and Morn got anti-heal online third. There was not enough anti-heal within that team to stop me from doing what I do well. And that is what I'm trying to say. Anti-heal is important, guys. Okay, on to match 8, and I dubbed it the Disrespect. This will, you'll understand a lot here in a second. So this does actually take place in patch 1.5. I think we're on patch 1.57 now, but with how long this video is taken to put together, I'll make do with it, because again, unless anything major changes, everything I say is more or less somewhat relevant in this scenario. But I call this video the Disrespect because, quite simply, it's an Omen start, only with one minor change. I only get 2 items built this match anyway, because something just completely hilarious happens in this match. I'm not going to deny it, but it is entirely my fault that what happens happens. So it is, and I do feel bad for their jungler, because oh, the pain. but the pain that I inflict is also joyous in a way, so it is. But yes, immediately we do Khaimera things. We standard jungling. It is what it is. We're doing what we do best in this scenario, right? I'm moving to go gank their offlane Seraph. I'm in their jungle, and I'm going to go take their blue. Guess who's here? It is their Shimby. And Shimby got caught in what happened me in one of my previous matches has now happened to Shimby. And me and this Shimby is going to sit and scrap. Can you guess what happens next? I'm pretty sure you can, because what my aim is I'm going to rob this blue. I now have more than enough mana and more than enough damage, so I'm going to hunt this Shimby to death. She's not getting out. So, again, there's a kill within the first 3 minutes on their jungler. And I'm back in jungling on her side. Guess who's back here no more than, what is that there? No more than 3 minutes later. Same place, same time. And Crunch, only this time Crunch is here to back me. But their Seraph is here to back them as well. Unfortunately, I whiff my ult on the Seraph because she uses her Heavenly Fury. But again, we're back on the bully central. I see Shimby. That's it. She's dead. Job done. Seraph backs off because she's really not willing to do this right now, so she isn't. I move over to dual lane. They do manage to actually stagger me a little bit and actually manage to put a little bit of a beating on me, so they do. That's about the height of it. We get our Omen online. I'm being standard Khaimera nuisances, but I'm starting to notice that there's something wrong here, so I'm starting to notice that they're missing someone. Why are they missing someone? Where was their Shimby in that engagement? Why was she gone? But yes, we're just back on full shenanigans here. We're dealing with it. We're just trying to chop up anybody that is anywhere near us at this stage. That's all it is. As I says, at this stage of the game, I haven't actually copped on that something is really amiss. So I haven't, but you've probably guessed what has happened. You've probably guessed what's happened already, but you're not going to guess what comes next. This is where the clinker part comes in, because there's guarantee you now you haven't guessed what comes next. Now I automatically know their Seraph isn't doing shit, and I'm just doing standard Khaimera things. As I said, I'm just looking to see what is going on. I'm just doing whatever needs to be done at this stage. I haven't copped on what has actually happened because there is no Seraph and there is no Shimby. Where could they possibly be is the question. Again, this is where we find out, and then this is where the trolling starts. I'm not sorry, but you can see the Shimby and you can see the Seraph up at the fountain. They are both AF fucking K. So I'm going to do the most Khaimera thing possible and run right up to them and just start taunting them. I think it's the Zinx that points it out. He goes, lol, Khaimera. I'm just doing, I'm more or less just laughing at these guys right now. I'm standing in front of their fountain, right? And they're not even willing to move. Murdoch finally cops on, jumps on the thing and cops on. Like, your dude says, lol, Khaimera. Murdoch finally cops on that I'm there. And I'm like, hello, how are you? It's like, it's the fact that his buckshot didn't even knock me the whole way in. And now they're starting to attack me, and I'm just like, guys, I'm just here to have fun. Finally gets me. As I don't really care about this much. It's mostly just for shits and giggles. And then immediately, as soon as I respawn, I go and start doing the exact same thing. Simply just to wind them up. I took great joy in doing this because it's just one of them things where I just enjoy. If you're going to be a dick and throw the match, I'm going to be a dick and taunt you for it. That is exactly what I'm going to do. If you're going to do that, I will taunt you for it. So I will. As says, could have done a lot better. Could have finished with no deaths. But again, regardless to anything, it was a funny match. And I just figured it would be worth adding to it. And of course, I like to troll whenever trolling gets trolling. You know, how to troll a troll. Just taunt them. It's so much fun. On to match 9, and it's the comeback. This match is rough, and that is the best way I can describe it. We've got Murdoch, Zinx, Countess, me, and Shimby versus, I believe, their Rampage, Greystone, Bellica, Sparrow, I believe, and a Richter, if my math serves me right. Or am I stupid? It might be a... No, I was right. Yep. So it is. Now this is the comeback video because this is where we get a really, really bad start. I'm not even going to, like, this is one of those starts that people will just immediately go, right, surrender. They did try that halfway through this match, and I was just like, yeah, not happening. We're going through this, we're dealing with this, and we're going to suffer through this. So we are, because if you finally start to learn something through it, if that makes sense. And that is exactly what we do, and we score some pretty nice comebacks in this one, so we do. Now, in terms of build, it's still an Omen setup, only with a small modification. We've got Citadel online instead of anything else, simply due to the fact that more physical defense because of their team setup. More or less the long and the short of it in that scenario, so it is. Now, immediately, our Countess gets taken out, lickety-split, which really does not help us because our Countess really does become a massive hindrance here, so she does. She is a hindrance in this match, so she is. But she proves to do something at some stage. Possibly. And then, that was right. After our engagement in mid, Rampage cleans up. Yeah, this Countess really didn't help us all that much. So immediately, I'm now dragged into the problem of I need to be in mid lane consistently, simply off of the rip of I can't trust this Countess to do her damn job and protect mid lane. Unfortunately, as you can see, down goes Murdoch as well. Now, people will notice that Murdoch is actually talking to us in this video. He's actually talking to the Zinx and everybody else, as he does say. And then down goes Countess again. Yes, so you can automatically see that we really are not in for a good scrap here, so we're not. It is just one of them things. So it is. So I really need to sort of pick up the pace. But now that she does have ult, I'm literally just going to dive Bellica because I'm Khaimera. Quite simple at that stage. As it says, still surprised that tower didn't take me out at the very end. Countess makes a play for Orb Prime, which is admirable. Just not at less than half health. Down goes Murdoch again, and Rampage makes himself well known in this scenario. This is where the problems really start to come about, is I don't think Countess understands what's going on. Luckily enough, Orb Prime made my life a lot easier. We then were able to deal with Rampage, but then again, Bellica doing Bellica things. Their Bellica is immediately signifying that she is going to be a problem. Just not as much of a problem as I'm going to be. You're running around with Orb Prime and I'm going to hunt you. I don't care. You're going to die. That was a waste of an Orb Prime in my opinion, but it is what it is. I love how I jumped straight over Richter's hook and then immediately ult him. Then Zinx manages to save my ass. Fair play to the Zinx. Whoever was on the Zinx that day was on point. Not even going to deny that. We're going to immediately move back to farming, but you'll start to notice that Countess is also leeching off my farm as well, which is a colossal issue in my opinion. Immediately back to my old habits of diving in to try and buy time. Look, it is one of them things. So it is. But Countess is going in here, and then as far as I'm aware, both of us are going to get blown up because Countess ain't doing shit. Yes, Countess got absolutely deleted, and then I'm going to follow suit because I figured Countess was actually going to do something. Then the surrender mentality starts. I'm putting money on it was probably the Countess. It wouldn't surprise me too much. Greystone, according to a lot of things, is exceptionally broken right now, but at the same time, me and Greystone have a very love-hate relationship. I'm going to try and mow down Richter. Murdoch helps. Always good to have some help. Hello, Rampage. Let's go for a round 2. I've got anti-heal. Let's see how well you fare against me. Because again, anti-heal is the kryptonite to a lot of things. Anti-heal are a lot of things, a lot of heroes. Anti-heal really badly shuts them down. But Rampage really should have understood that he was up against a Khaimera, and leaping away was not the safest thing to do. Greystone then decides to go in. I don't know what possessed him, but that backfired
very, very badly for him, so it did. I'm not even going to deny that. I'm then going to match up against the both of them because, well, I'm Khaimera, I've got Anti-Heal, I've got Omen. Sure, fight me. Rampage really does seem to struggle against a Khaimera that knows what he's doing, which is disappointing. Shimby then takes out Greystone, which then procs the Rampage to run away. And Balaka, again, this Balaka is on point and she is being very annoying. She is aiming to deal with me with easy fashion, so she is. Now, what I will have to give is the Murdoch snipe. Fair play. Problem is, Balaka takes out Shimby as well. I even comment, it was a good shot. It was as simple as. But Shimby got taken out as well. I score Orb Prime as Greystone runs away, as you somewhat do. It kind of is what it is. But Balaka is immediately asking for an ass whooping that she never asked for. But because I'm Khaimera, you're getting an ass whooping. Again, all me, not Countess. And immediately I've got Orb Prime, so I'm immediately on the hunt. Anybody and everybody is on the menu. And immediately I'm going straight for Sparrow. She is going to be a problem later on, the same as Balaka. So I'm on the hunt. Murdoch's following suit, so I enjoy this Murdoch's need for murder, so I do. But immediately after taking out Rampage, I'm backing off because I don't need anybody coming after me. So I don't. Balaka immediately is on me again. I'm getting absolutely crammed here. Now, somebody answer me this. How in the 10 layers of shit did I get out? No, because Balaka managed to catch me off. Fair play to the Balaka. She actually managed to catch me while I was trying to retreat. So I have to give her that. And then Murdoch's putting in damage downrange. Fair play to the Murdoch. Murdoch is putting in damage downrange. Now, why is Shimby being as greedy as she is? Don't know. But the problem is, though, this will very quickly turn around once Richter gets a howl of the Murdoch. I say Shimby's still on full bloodthirst mode, trying to deal with this Greystone, but unfortunately Sparrow with her ult is still Sparrow with an ult. You really don't want to mess with that, so you don't. With that all being the case, Countess has backed off as of lack of mana, and then down goes Shimby. Immediately I'm back to my old habits of trying to play the hero and trying to be annoying, and so on and so forth. Kind of raging that I wasn't able to put down the Richter there. That did annoy me a little bit, but then Greystone cleans me up. Countess then cleans up the Richter. Countess is very good at cleaning up after you've done everything for her, apparently. Unfortunately, I think Murdoch misses his snipe, and then Balaka cleans up Countess yet again. Yes, this is a common trend. Countess, for as good as she is, sometimes she can be a little bit too complicated for people to play. It's quite simple, to be fair. But at the same time, I disagree with her build because she's running health for some reason. You're looking damage, not health. Come on now. What are you doing? Immediately Shimby, Murdoch, and I do believe Zinx is in there as well. It's now a 3v3 on Fang, so it is. And this is where Murdoch and Shimby really just start to put damage down range. So fair play on the triple kill, guys. We immediately go after Orb Prime to secure. So we did, and now we're looking for spots. And this is the creme de la creme. So it is. This is where it's cleanup time for Khaimera. It is rip and tear, so it is. That's 2 down, 3 to go. Down goes Rampage. And then Greystone immediately sees the position that they're in and is like, nope, I am not fighting this. I am running the fuck away. If Greystone had survived, that would have been a very tasty pentakill, but I will take the Quadra and run with it. I died due to me trying to end the game immediately, so I do, but sure, they're going to end the game anyway without me, so they are. Are they? Is the question. Shimby's just in full monster mode. Rampage is terrified of me because Rampage does not want to scrap with me at all. Zinx snipes the kill. And then, yeah, Greystone's going for it, trying to match with me, and so is Richter. Neither of them are able to do anything, really. Not at the scenario that I'm in. I'm more than chunky enough to be able to face tank just about anything they throw at me. Murdoch with the final cleanup, and that's it. Team wipe. It's GG at that stage. I have to say, for I think that there's my 3rd or 4th quadra kill I've ever gotten. I was quite happy with it, quite content, and it fits very nicely into what I'm trying to do in this video as well. Big thing that I want to take a look at though is I want to see the builds, because there's answers I need, so there is. Right, so let's just take a quick look-see and see what the situation is. Dam Hayes went with the standard Murdoch build as far as I'm aware, and then you had Zinx, who was going with a slightly more damage-oriented build. You have Countess, who went with a lifesteal build, but also went with a slowing as well, which is a bit odd to me. Obviously, I'm doing standard Khaimera shenanigans. The Omen build has worked from start to finish. As it says, if you look at the numbers for any of my Omen setups, the numbers always seem to perform better. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to figure it out later on. And then you also have Shimby running a healing setup with Orb of Growth. She also picked up anti-heal because she knew what she was dealing with. Then you have Greystone, who immediately went into Draconium and Tainted Blade. Ooh, Tainted Blade 4th item, not a strong option. Unfortunately, Rampage, no tainted items whatsoever. Balika didn't build any tainted items until our 4th one. Basically everybody built a tainted version, a tainted item 4th, which really just allowed me to rip and tear through their team. So it was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, I'm going to accept it due to the fact that it allowed me to score my quadra. So I'm not going to deny it, but again, it does put emphasis on the fact that anti-heal is incredibly valuable, especially when people are building healing first item. It just makes sense the way that it does. Build anti-heal early, guys. You will stop people from snowballing. So on to the last match, which I've called Rip and Tear. It's match 10. I've recorded 10 videos, 10 matches, and got them all edited and down for your enjoyment. As it says, let's take a look-see. They've got a Grooks versus Zorus. We have me versus Fang Mao, Balka versus Morgesh, and then they have a Zinx and Drongo versus Esteel and Murdoch. Again, I would cover the build, but again, at this stage, we already know exactly what I'm doing, simply due to the factor of, well, we've been running the same build for like the last, what, 6 ones? Last 6 matches, give or take? No, not even. But yes, they get off to one hell of a snowballing start, so they do. And then our Balika manages to pull it back. So she does. And immediately I'm going to go in with full aggression. And then Fang Mao's greed got the better of him because he burnt everything just to try and get this Balika. But in return, I managed to pick up the Fang Mao. So again, greed definitely is the killer in this one, so it is. But Fang Maos are always going to be exceptionally dangerous because again, it simply is what it is. I'm going to move straight in on this Morgesh and try to get some work done, but unfortunately, I'm still not built up just yet. Between slows and damage, I'm getting caught, and then Grooks magically appears out of nowhere to get me. Balka with a save, have to give luck. 10 out of 10 to the Balka, saved my ass. I even acknowledged it, and then she replied in kind. So again, that there means that she is actually competent, so she is. And immediately I'm on the move because they're making their move for Fangtooth. Now again, I have a little bit of damage ready to rock and roll thanks to momentum as well as a bit of penetration. Fang Mao is my main target because he is their jungler. If I can remove him from the equation, it means that in terms of being able to secure Fangtooth, our odds are a lot better. Thanks to the rest of our team, being able to pick up a little Zinx at the same time, and then we move straight in to securing our Fangtooth. Now Morgesh got herself in here. I don't know why, whenever she noticed that the rest of her team had been bullied into oblivion, but immediately at this stage I'm going to make my move on the Drongo, so I am, because he has made it very evident that he wants to get absolutely tore apart. It is what it is, look. It's purely up to them what happens, you know what I mean? Just bad timing and placement. Unfortunately though, was not able to secure the kill on the Grooks because their Zinx is still being a pest. As it says, Zinx has a hard stun and makes it very dangerous, and Morgesh rotated round, which made life just that little bit more infuriating, so it did. And at this stage I need to get out before Morgesh decides to do any more damage to me, so we do. Immediately rotate over to help Zorus. Grooks does not stand a chance against me in this scenario, so he doesn't. I've already got Omen online, I've got anti-heal online. Grooks is not getting away from me. It's as simple as. It's just an unfortunate side effect. Morgesh is getting bullied by Balika. I'm going to make sure to secure that kill cleanly, so that means we can start pushing. Now, again, it always seems to be a case that dual lane does seem to get hounded quite a bit, but with the removal of Zinx, Drongo really does not have much to bite with anymore. So I'm going to remove Drongo from that list as well. As Zaris manages to take out Grooks, more or less securing a handy kill. Now, Morges decides to try and escape, but thanks to the Balka, what a secure. I do apologise to the Balka for this, because I didn't know Fang Mai was in the vicinity, so while I was away dealing with Tar, unfortunately, Fang Mai moves in on the Balka, because the Balka is low on health. Balka did manage to get a good bit of damage on Fang Mai, but it was me that had to secure the kill. As it says, I do apologise, Balka. Khaimera shenanigans. It's simple as that there. It's just doing what Khaimera does best. Now, Grooks is rotated, so I'm going to move. Balaka and Balaka and Murdoch beat me to the punch on that one. But with me having Mini Orb, I want to try and force this as far as possible. So I do. Morgesh and Fang Mao manage to take out Balaka, but Fang Mao gets deleted, absolutely shredded in the process. People need to remember that Fang Mao is not as durable as a Khaimera. He is a lot burstier in that fashion, so he is. So it's one of those things that you do need to keep an eye on. Again, they're aiming for Fang. They do secure Fang, but it is going to turn into a little bit of a messy heap of shenanigans, because murder. Problem is though, once Khaimera, like this is the entire stick whenever it comes to Fang Mao. Once Fang Mao does get you low, he is able to execute you. He is one of the few pentakillers within the game, so it is one of those things that you do have to keep wary. But for some unknown reason, we're still scrapping around Fangtooth for some reason. So I'm going to make myself well known, dive headfirst in, proc Zephyr's Mantle, and see if I can take anybody with me. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, so it doesn't. So I get blown up to fuck, so it is. It is what it is. As it says, whenever you're jumping in on 5 people, you're not expecting it to work out in your favour, so you're not. But again, with Balaka there, I'm more than happy to dive in on just about anybody. So I am, because our team has actually managed to get themselves all stacked in quite nicely to the right place, so they have. But unfortunately, their team has literally more or less just fallen apart at this scenario. I'm caught in a 5v, 2 or 3? Yeah, I'm getting deleted off rip here, so I am. I'm not going to be able to do much. But again, with the multi-stun capability, I can still do an awful lot. With the help of the Zaris caging them in, burning everybody's TP, there's nothing stopping us from absolutely just ripping and tearing through their team. 2 of them have already dropped. That makes 3. Fang Mao makes 4. You know, there's nothing really stopping us now. And then, unfortunately, this is where it unfortunately ends in a whopping surrender. Somewhat, I never justify a surrender simply off of the basis of, well, you can always make a comeback, but look, surrender mentality is contagious apparently, and unfortunately it's just a disappointment in my opinion. But yes, that build worked out just as well. As says, this build has been exceptionally consistent in saying that, but let's just take a look and see what they were running. So again, our Murdoch immediately went with Lightning Hawk Vank. Simple enough, and then he builds into Tainted Rounds. Again, I don't think they have an abundance of healing on their team, so I don't. But moving on, of course, Steel's going to be building full tank. Balaka is doing a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, Balaka's up to some shenanigans here. She's got Soulbinder for magical power, Spectra because of the 3-round burst, which is nuts, might I add, and then she's got nuclear rounds as well as Stormbringer. She's going with a really nutty build. And then you've got Zaris doing exactly what I hoped he would do. He is building second item, anti-heal, so he is. Beautiful. But here's the clutch. Here's what doesn't make sense, right, guys? I have to look at their enemy team, and I sometimes I get really confused, right? So, you've got Grooks, who started off strong, might I add, but then ended up building into Basilisk first and then Salvation second. Why? You've got Fang Mao, who built into Malady first and then Infernum. Why? Then you've got Morgesh, who built into Prophecy first. Why? Zinx was actually the sensible one and built anti-heal second, and then you had Drongo, who built anti-heal third. There was nobody in their team that was going to be able to stop me. No wonder why they got decimated the way that they did. Like, even with the Zaris does have inherent healing in his kit. Like, no wonder why they struggled. Their build method is completely wrong in these scenarios. It's understanding that. So it is. But yes, now we've got 10 matches of information to work with, so let's start building into our conclusion, shall we?
So our conclusion's already more or less been covered in the TLDR section of the things. So at this stage, if you've made it this far in the video, all I can really say is thanks, because no harm. This video is nearly 3 hours long. Holy crap. As says, I got nearly say about 6-7 hours of content edited down into 2 hours. As says, the entire reason why I recorded so much and edited so much, hello phone, was simply off of the base factor of I wanted to get as much information recorded and shown to you as possible. As says, each person has their own way of doing things. I wanted to just get as much feasible information as I could get my hands on, so I could come to you with the evidence of all of it. And I think the TLDR sort of sums up just about everything that I wanted to cover, so it did. And yes, Khaimera does stand as the most powerful jungler as it sits right now. It'll only be a matter of time to see if I have been shown to be wrong or right. Now, again, I've only covered 2 of the patches throughout this video. I understand that. It is somewhat outdated. But regardless though, the information, because Khaimera hasn't really been touched, or the items haven't really been touched over the last 2 to 3 patches, then it really does not overall hinder Khaimera in that scenario. So because of that there, I have to bring that to the forefront of all of this as well. I should have probably brought that up first. But again, I'll go back and fix that, so I will, just as a little side note. So I will. But yes. All being said, the conclusion is Khaimera is still as strong as he is. Guys, please test out more items than what Omega City or anything else shows you, because the Tainted Omen is definitely, in my opinion, Khaimera's best starting option. If you have indeed made it this far into the video, I do thank you very much. And again, if you've made it this far, please like, share and subscribe, I guess. So guys, I hope you all enjoyed. Again, please like, share and subscribe if you didn't enjoy. And remember guys, not everything goes to plan. Bye!